What about you? What is your what's another gambling crush?
I love
something you love to bet.
I really love how differently we played this exercise. Yes. Again, another classic in the SGP arsenal, the close your eyes special, Sean. Another trend we're essentially the originators of. No one in the history of gambling had thought about fading recency bias until we came along and said, you know what? When a team underperforms the spread by 21 points, they're going to be a great bet next week, especially when they're catching points. So again, we're playing every dog that underperformed the spread by 21 points or more the previous week. This year, the Carolina Panthers kind of broke the trend a little bit.
Yes,
we're gonna look past that. I will continue to blindly play it unless it falls on the Dallas Cowboys. And again, we love contrarian betting, Sean. We love fading the public. That's what this is all about. This is what this trend was born in. So again, when I think about this is like when you're speed dating, which hopefully I can only be so fortunate. Maybe this year at Bet Bash, do some speed networking. I can only hope. If someone asked me what's your favorite thing about betting on the NFL, I would either say first touchdowns or the close your eyes special. So the close your eyes special, greatest name in the bet trend naming realm. Love it. And again, something I blindly bet. Those feel like crushes.
This guy was great to me this season. Shout out to my boy. I was a believer all season coming into the season, crushed it on my futures, crushed it in game. They were 12-6 ATS as a team, the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix as their quarterback. Shout out to you, Bo. You earned my crush this year. We'll see if how the market adjusts, but yeah, 12-6 ATS, the 7-1 first touchdown, 7-1 to make the playoffs. Broncos, they crushed their win total. That was super easy. One of our win total locks for me. Everyone came in thinking Bo Nix was going to suck. I thought it was a great situation, great spot. And you want to talk about anytime touchdowns? Bo Nix also very good in that. Was continually priced not as a rushing quarterback and would continually get in the end zone. So shout out to you, Bo. You turned me into a Bo lever this season. Love you.
I think some notes for the creative team. Let's scrap rookie year. Just put Bo Nix. Maybe just go Bo.
I don't know if I'll be in on him next year.
I'm going to say this was an intimate relationship. We'll go Bo, and then we'll zoom in on a headshot, no helmet. We don't need to see that pesky helmet in his face. All right,
Kramer, show me another gambling crush.
We love to play blackjack.
Yep.
And there is nothing that delights me more at a blackjack table than when I get an 11.
Even more than blackjack
against a 4, 5, or 6, really against any number. As soon as I see that I have 11, as soon as I see I have a card that can add up to 11, which is almost every card, I start sliding the double down pile out. So yeah, although I kind of lying because I cheated on this with I got 2 8s and then I got another 8 and I split that and then I got a double down hand. It's almost better than this, but man, the 11 against the 4, 5, 6, nothing is more delightful. And my favorite joke at a blackjack table, I ask about doubling down my blackjack against the 4, 5, and 6.
They love that. Ryan, this one, we know we're big Tomlin guys.
I'm a degenerate.
A regular season Tomlin, at least. And every year, Steelers win total over. Every year, they price this way too low because they're like, oh, Steelers, they're going to blow it. Yeah, they blow it in the playoffs, not in the regular season. 21 straight seasons without a losing record. Tomlin has been coaching forever, still no losing season. And every year the win total is 7.5, 8.5. Like 8.5 is as high as they'll make a Pittsburgh Steelers win total. And I'm sure Steelers fans aren't excited that they don't have a quarterback, but the fact that they haven't had a quarterback has made it great for them betting wise, because the market always prices them too low. They forget they have a home field advantage. They forget they always have a defense and TJ Watt. They'll win a bunch of ugly games. It won't be sustainable. They'll flame out at some point, but love Pittsburgh Steelers over on their win total. Kramer, what's another gambling crush?
Oh, crap. Well, we go from blackjack to crap. Sometimes when the money runs out, that's what you do. If you haven't parlayed a hard way at the craps table, just mechanical parlay of a little hard 4, hard 6, hard 8.
Let it ride.
There's nothing better, because when you hit $100 hard way, You remember that for the rest of your life. When you hit a $200 hard way, never forget.
And before we go, Boston Scott scoring touchdowns against the Giants. 10 games against the Giants, 10 touchdowns.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't bet on that anymore. But get Boston Scott back in the league. Speaking of a guy who might not be in the league, Aaron Rodgers, where does he end up? We're going to break down those odds when he returns. Let's get on the podcast live.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the...
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club fitting center, and an Odyssey fitting studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202 to get in. Talk sports. Western Reserve Radio is the station you're listening to. And the show is the Saturday morning sports page. Oh, Dave Clark. It's a beautiful snowy day here. And it's all turning to rain. And it's going to rain all day tomorrow, all day this afternoon. Flood warnings for tomorrow. Yeah, snow, rain, snow, ice. And then next week, Monday, week's going to be kind of cold. In the teens, single digits. It's winter, but boy, this is just, I thought maybe February we start to see some warmer temps, but not so. Oh, Dave Clark, though, we did talk about the Super Bowl last week. We both predicted Philadelphia to win. And bottom line is Philadelphia, not only did they win, they took Kansas City out to the proverbial woodshed, and they kind of laid a beating on old Kansas City. That was not even a close game. It was over. I thought when DeGene ran the ball in and made it 17-0, the interception, pick six. And the way Kansas City looked, I thought this game kind of looks like it's over. Then when they scored, it went 24-0 at halftime. And you could see Kansas City was just out of sorts.
I've seen them come back from that. I said, let's see the second half, how they come out.
Right.
And then I seen Philly did not change anything, really. They kept the pressure, relentless with four guys. Yep. And when I seen that, I said, nope, this will not change. No. And, the score looked different at the end, but that was just stuff they had backups in.
Yeah, they let them give they gave them the two garbage touchdowns at the end.
And I think they did that because I really think they was trying to shut them out. And when they gave it, you could see we let them, they got it and scored. When Worthy scored, there was like frustration.
Yeah,
they gave up the 6, and then, they kind of called off the dogs to a certain degree.
Yeah, he did.
But oh my God, that was dominating.
Yeah, that was basically pure domination game. I had a bad feeling. I thought Mahomes looked out of sorts from the opening when they had the ball when Philly punted, Kansas City had the ball. I thought right away Mahomes looked like he wasn't quite right. And then the team itself looks so out of sorts. The offensive line, they've been getting by with the mediocre offensive line all year. They've been pulling out these close wins all year.
Yeah.
They haven't really blown anybody out. They've just been kind of getting by. And that Philadelphia front four, when they dominated, when they were in that backfield, you could just see Mahomes was just like, he seemed out of sorts originally. Then that front four really kind of drove him crazy.
Yeah. His feet was never set. That's how I watched. At first, the first drive, like I said, they just didn't look right.
Right.
But I thought, okay, they'll settle down.
Yeah.
That's nerves.
Nerves.
Early, they're going for a 3-peat.
Sure.
Blah, blah. But then the next time they got the ball and they kept on, all I was watching is his feet. And what I was watching is once the rush got to a certain area, those feet was just all over the place. I'm got to run. I got to go here.
Yep.
And I said, no, he's not settled. And they didn't let him settle down.
No.
And I mean, they kept rotating their defensive linemen.
Oh, yeah.
Kept everybody fresh. And, I guess Jalen Carter just got a different kind of motor because they didn't take people in for him. But, man, he just keep coming. He keep coming.
Kept going.
And that, what an improvement from Nolan Smith. That Sweat had a great game, and Nolan Smith, the pressure he was showing, I was like, man, this guy he came on, it's finally clicked, and man, whew. Ooh, man. I mean, they got some free agents to try to re-sign them, but I think they're gonna, they're looking at other players that they can get and just reload some more.
Yeah, that'll be the key. I mean, moving next year or this year, 2025, is what will be the makeup of the team, and what do they keep, who do they lose, and see how they adjust to whatever the losses they have, and then they probably go out. And Howie Roseman looks like obviously the best GM in the league, and he probably is at this point. He does to retool the team.
He does a great job.
He knows obviously what he's doing. He's very good at what he does. So.
And I'm gonna be honest, as a Philly fan, I used at the beginning, I didn't question. I'd just be like, why did he do that? What? And then it'd work out. And then after a while, I just said, I'm not even gonna question what he's doing because he always does something that seems like maybe nope. Especially with the trenches, he's been great on the offense and defensive line. They're drafting and they're free agent pickups. So I mean, they said they're already looking at major guys that are free agents just in case they lose Sweat. Since they wanted he's a free agent.
Sweat, right.
Somebody might want to sign him, but then they're looking at the other Sweat who went to the Bears,
right?
Who's a free agent. They also looking at the possibility of, which is crazy, Myles Garrett. And
yes,
so I mean, it's guys that they'll think about it. They can get other guys that are decent pass rushers. They don't never have to worry about being out there all the time because they do continue to rotate their defensive linemen and keep everybody fresh and, see what they do with the offensive coordinator position back because now Jalen Hurts goes to another OC. But he's a guy that just chugs along no matter what through college, pros, offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator for that guy.
Yeah,
and they talk about him, they put him down. But, I like how he just stays focused. Let them talk all they want about him. He just go and get the job done. So,
well, a few things when you step back and look at everything. Right now, Philadelphia's got $18 million in cap space.
Wow. I didn't even think they had that. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
He'll move something around, sure.
He can move. The team that has the most cap space, Patriots, 119. Raiders are next, 92 million. Commanders are third at 75 million. Cardinals are next, 71 million. And the Chargers follow up with 63 million.
Now, you know what? Those last three teams that you mentioned, Commanders,
Cardinals, Chargers, and the
Chargers.
Bears are 62 million.
All four of them. If their front offices and GMs can do the right thing, they do got pieces already. And we've seen the Commanders got to the championship game. Cardinals played they played big against big teams a lot of times. They just need some more, just a few more things. So they're right there. And we've seen with the Bears starting to get better towards the end of the season. So, and now you come in with a new coach, so I know it's going to be new energy. See what happens with Ben Johnson and get them going offensively.
Yeah.
Get their defense. We see what happened here. I love seeing the like when the next season comes, we see who rises up. It's usually somebody rises up.
That's the great part is then the other news this past week was Rodgers is released from the Jets, which Jets have 16 million in cap space. I guess I understand that, but I don't understand it is because I'm not sure who they're going to get as quarterback.
Right. That's the only thing.
And then I start looking at the free agents available out there. And Sam Darnold is obviously one of the free agents out there. Then you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. You'll probably have Justin Fields, depending on, I think he still has the rookie quarterback. He's still under rookie No, he's listed as a available. He's a free agent. My bad.
All those guys there.
Yeah. Here is just kind of give you an idea. A lot of free agent quarterbacks. Darnold, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Andy Dalton, Jarrett Stidham, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph. And then I could get into the rest of the guys, and they're not really. There are a bunch of other ones. Yeah. Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones, we talked, and then, But I would say the main ones that could start, if you want to get into rating them, Darnold obviously is probably at the top of the list. Aaron Rodgers is probably in the discussion. Russell Wilson, possibly Justin Fields. Then we get back into where it kind of ties in is you look at, okay, you have the free agents, quarterback is the prime position. Then you look at our draft order, and that's where it gets interesting because the question's going to be of all these teams drafting, like if you're Tennessee, do you do the quarterback? Do you go after a free agent or do you do the draft? Mm-hmm. And it seems like the only two quarterbacks, and it's even debatable whether or not they're legitimate first rounders. Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are the two that are talked about going maybe in the first round. Again, but there are some doubters there.
I think it'd be more than that's going to go in the first round, though.
Because we always go through this every year, and the guys that you think Jackson Dart is the one.
Yep. I think he'll slip in there.
He might slip into the first round. Teams may trade back to get him. But the Shedeur, what do the Tennessee Titans, Browns, and Giants do? New England, we know they're not going quarterback. Jacksonville's not going quarterback.
Right.
The Vegas is 6.
They could. Yep.
Now they got Pete Carroll. The Jets are 7. They technically could, depending on if someone falls to them. But a lot of it depends on what the Giants and the Titans and Browns are going to do first.
Yeah, that's the key. If two of them don't go, then we look to those others that you mentioned, the Jets and the Raiders, all of them. They probably all of a sudden they're in the discussion of getting one of those quarterbacks. And sometimes like you said, we always talked about they reach for them, but if you got to get a quarterback, you got to get them. And whether you wait second, third round, you got to get a quarterback. And you can't get some of these recycled guys. Some of them just, you already know they're not going to be your friend. So you got to take a chance on one of those guys that you think could fit and may be able to even be worked with and can improve. So you got to take a chance. The key is, can they get a rookie like that and also get a very stable veteran quarterback that they can bring in to play the quarterback position until those guys is ready. And you got a few of them as far as free agents. They can be, guys that, okay, I'll start him. I can do that. He could be a starting quarterback for, some for a whole season, maybe some for a certain amount of games, 7, 8 games into the season, and then see if my guy's ready. But you got enough of those to do it. So we already know 3, 4 guys probably go in the first round. I do think Jackson Dart will get in there. And what's the other guy I was thinking of? Texas quarterback.
Quinn Ewers.
He just might. I mean, I can see him being a second, third, but like we always say, those guys always rise up.
Well, McCord out of Syracuse.
That's another one.
Is another one that people are talking about him moving up in the draft, and he could end up a late first round or early second.
Yep.
These quarterbacks are funny. Howard from Ohio State's another one. He's got the size, so seems to have an arm. Now, whether or not it's an NFL arm, but he looked obviously very good with Ohio State, getting him to win a national title. But does he end up a late first rounder? And that's what gets interesting and will be talked about between now and April when the draft gets here. With this quarterback class, it's being, it's not according to all the analysts, they don't think it's not a good quarterback class. The one next year is supposed to be better than this one.
Yeah.
But we have seen time and time again, teams get desperate. They look at these quarterbacks and are going to look at these quarterbacks like micromanage minutia and then make a decision of, do we go free agent or do we take the rookie, go get maybe a veteran that can bridge it, but then with the idea we'll have a veteran quarterback play a few games and bridge it and bring in a Kyle McCord to be the guy, or one of those quarterbacks, or Howard to be the guy, or, Shador might sit a couple games and then end up being the guy.
Right. Yep.
So
I can see that happening. Yeah. One of the things I like about those top quarterbacks, and all the way to Dart also, even Howard, if he slips up in there, all those guys is coachable.
Yeah.
They're the type of guys that just like soak up stuff. They listening, and they want to get better. So when you get guys that want to do that and are willing to do that, you have an opportunity to change guys from being a franchise quarterback. They can definitely do that. We've seen that Jaden Daniels could be that. You could tell that, and then coachable as he is, and his poise that he has. We've seen what kind of season he had, and that's the thing I like about Shador, Cam, and even Dart. They're poised. They're pretty poised in there. They look like guys that have been starting for a while. They just look poised. They don't let a lot of stuff rattle them. And they can be coachable. You don't know diamond in the rough. You never know. Got to take a chance, though, because some of these teams are, it's sad. You look at the Browns and think of the talent that they had.
Yeah, but
now the guys then got injured and stuff like that, but so much talent around them, no quarterback.
Well, the obvious thing is the first 3 teams, Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants, when they list their biggest needs, quarterback is number 1 on all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think Tennessee's going to roll out with Will Levis. I think they're going to.
Yeah,
they're
people
keep
keep saying that too, right?
I know.
It's hard for me to.
There are
it's hard.
People, depending on who you speak to, but in at least the NFL, when I'm looking at it, they say Will Levis lacked accuracy and did not handle pressure well. So that just seemed to be.
There are two bad things you just said there.
Yeah.
Can you say those again?
Yeah, when they say you lack accuracy, you do not handle pressure well in the NFL quarter.
That is a terrible combination.
I.e., that spells you're either going to be a backup or you're going to be doing something else with your career.
Yeah, because we can't say he has an arm. He can throw
the
football.
He's got a gun.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about his arm strength.
But if he's not accurate,
right,
and then he can't handle the
pressure
because the pressure's coming. Ask Mahomes, and he's your best. That pressure's coming. So if he's at that level and can't handle the pressure, that's going to be a problem. That right there is going to be a major problem. I think they might just be trying to see what they can squeeze out of that by saying they're not taking the first play. Well, I don't know. I mean, they're in the driver's seat. They don't have to do that unless they're trying to trade. I don't know. Just do what you're going to do and get them. But this is a tricky draft.
And that's kind of what they're going to have to decide what they're going to do. Do they do Cam Ward or do you do Shador going to Tennessee?
Yeah.
And then, Cleveland's next. And I think you realize that Watson's won't be playing. Obviously,
I don't
next
think
year.
Play this season.
He's not playing this season with the torn Achilles again.
Right.
The only question is going to be is they have him for 2 more years, but I'm wondering by then they can find a way with the cap and to figure out.
I think so too.
And minimize and then
try to get rid of him
ultimately release him at the end of next year.
Yep, I think so too.
And take your cap hit. But the way Denver got around Russell Wilson's $85 million cap hit was through the rookie quarterback.
Hit on the draft.
Bo Nix, who they drafted. And now he's under obviously the rookie contract, but that's how they could dance around.
Yeah.
And that's
I think they have to.
And that's what I don't think. That's what I break it down. I don't think Cleveland has any other option but to draft a quarterback.
Like they were saying this week, looking at Russell Wilson, looking at Aaron Rodgers, even Darnold. They look at all these guys, but you got to sit there and say, okay, we do need a quarterback. But I don't think you look at your franchise and say, this is what we need this year. You got to look 2-3 years down the road. Is these the guys? Well, Aaron Rodgers, no, because he may play a season or 2 more, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, Darnold, he's been what messed him up is he had a great season.
Until
those last 2 games really dampened things, make people think, I don't know.
He went back
right
to the old.
And those we mentioned, and then Russell Wilson. And not bad, but you don't know if that's the guy right now in this stage of his career. It's not your future. So
yeah. And he's on the downward slide.
I think you have to take one of those guys. One of those 3. The Cam, Shador, or and they said they did like Jackson because they was coaching him. He was on their team on the Senior Bowl. You got to take one of them guys, I think.
Well, rumor is, or one of the rumors in New York, and then we didn't get to the Matthew Stafford situation.
Oh, yeah, I've been hearing that too.
Now, one rumor out there is Matthew Stafford, his brother-in-law is now a coach in New York. Giants hired I believe it's his brother-in-law is now a coordinator, some kind of offensive something in New York. Giants did. So they think there's a tie there. But I got news for you. If I'm Matthew Stafford, seeing the Giants offensive line, look,
I'll sign.
That's the last place I want to go.
I'll wait. If I say, I really want to go there, I'm waiting to see who they get in free agency as the lineman, their draft picks, and what you can bring there, even if it's trade, before I do that.
Yeah, and here's the problem. The problem you have, Matthew Stafford is 37.
Yeah. Well, see, I wouldn't mind getting Stafford.
But
still draft a quarterback.
But the Giants, this is what cracks me up. The Giants need a quarterback that can move around. Yeah, he is 37.
Yeah.
But the point is,
well, with that offensive line, you do right now.
You do.
With that, you have to now.
The quarterback, and I don't know if he wants to go there, but I'm a Giant fan, and I don't know if but they need a quarterback like a Justin Fields who can move around. That's the quarterback the Giants need to get. They need a guy that can move. You can't get a 37-year-old guy that can. No, that's the disaster.
Not with that.
Not with that line. But I don't. Again,
they have to do some major overhaul.
They're going to have to, and I don't.
That's the only way I would come if I'm Matthew Stafford.
Right, and I don't have a lot of faith in Giant GM to figure it out because he hasn't figured it out.
Yeah.
So if you're Matthew Stafford, that's the last place I would want to go.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't think he goes there unless he sees them doing some major renovation to the offensive line.
Right.
And then, he can adapt if they go to the short passing game, quick passes. He can adapt to that, and that will help him a lot. But improve that offensive line. He can't go there with that same offensive line.
No.
There's no way. That wouldn't be a good move for him. For his career.
But if you look at the history of the New York Giants in the last 10 years, that's been their ongoing problem. His offensive line, their offensive line has been the albatross around their neck for at least 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I just don't understand some of the free agents that were available to him. They just bypass.
I don't
understand. Somebody has to say something.
And then
you
the
could
draft.
mess up now you could mess up. As we say, it's a crapshoot. Guys could be great in college, get into pros and don't adapt. They can't play tackle. They got to play guard or vice versa, whatever the case may be.
Whatever.
So those things happen. But you see proven people that's been playing offensive line and got a good grade on them, been in the league 5 years, and you're not signing them guys, you got to sign them. Sign them. Do like the Browns did when they were down. And then all of a sudden, that offensive line was one of the best in the NFL. Right. And what did they do? They went to the free agency. They did some drafts.
Right.
And they even did a big trade with Tennessee and got the tackle. That line was about 5 years. That was the best line in the NFL. You got to do something like that. You got to take a chance and do that. Somebody needs to slap him and tell him. But, I mean, he's going to have to do it. I think, or he doesn't. This will be the last year. Rolling the sidelines and in his office. That'll be it. Coach and him will be both.
Yeah, Dable and Shane have got a year left.
Yeah, they got to improve that offensive
line. They
line.
roll out another 3, and if they end another 4 or 5 or 6 wins, and you got a bad line and the quarterback's a mess.
Well, wouldn't you? You don't say copy, but it is. All teams copy people. But people have been saying this for years, though. This is nothing new. What do Howard Roseman really do? He loves building the trenches.
That's what he does.
He said, I build the trenches. I build from the inside, then out.
Yeah. That's not that's not a secret.
Until they started getting better and better. Now they dominant because their lines are so good on both sides.
That's what he did. He built it right.
Well, I would just take that same blueprint and build from the inside, and then we can get skilled guys. Right. They got some around there anyway, but
no,
the Giants got some skilled guys.
They do.
So, you might want to upgrade your back, even though don't get rid of that Tracy guy.
No, keep him.
Yeah, but
because he makes plays.
Yes, he makes plays. You get another big time back if you want, and you can share the load. Get that line right.
First quarter in the books. Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Lena's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday Morning Sports Page back at you, second quarter. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports, talking obviously NFL, football. We'll look at some of the college basketball, NBA starting to get a little interesting. But with football, especially with the quarterback situation this week, with Rodgers being basically released by the Jets.
Yeah.
It looks like he's obviously going to be. I think he's going to play another year. I don't think he's going to retire.
No.
And obviously now there's this talk about Matthew Stafford wanting allegedly. I mean, there's all these rumors about wanting to leave LA. First of all, help me here. Why would the Rams want to get rid of Stafford? You got real close to beating Philly. In fact, you had the ball. If they don't take that sack,
yeah,
Philly LA, the Rams might have beaten Philly or could have easily beaten Philly.
They could have had that thing over. Could have been just beat them, went over, whatever. They were in the verge.
They were,
but somebody forgot to block or even couldn't even block Jalen Carter.
No, Jalen Carter
he just manhandled whoever it was, threw him out the way and went straight in. Stafford had no time.
No, he had no idea. He could not move. He couldn't
move in that because you were on a field that's snow covered. Traction was gone, so it was no moving.
No.
Yeah, and that was it. That did it right there.
That was the game Philadelphia possibly should have lost, pulled it out, and then after that, though, they did away with Washington, and then Kansas City was obviously, like we talked earlier, was pretty much a road bump for Philly. No game whatsoever surprised a lot of people. Everybody thought, for the most part, it was going to be a kind of a coin flip game either way. And after the first quarter, I think most people realized that it wasn't going to be the coin flip, that Philadelphia was dominating the line of scrimmage, especially the defensive line was just absolutely exposing the weakness of the offensive line that Kansas City pretty much had all year and was able to cover it up. But Philadelphia's defensive line was just way too good, just in playing at a different level. Yeah. And they just steamrolled that offensive line. And like I said, Mahomes didn't look quite right when he started. And then the combination of the offensive line having no ability to block Philly's defensive line just contributed to the offensive quandary that they were stuck in.
Yeah.
And then Mahomes was just pretty much running for his life. And it seemed like anytime he dropped back to pass, Philadelphia was in.
Yeah. I mean, when he dropped back and hit his back foot to get ready to set up, it There was no setup.
No.
As soon as he hit his back footed, they were already in there. They were there. I mean, that pass rush was relentless. When I seen that, I said, man, I haven't seen that. Maybe it's you got to go back to the Bears Super Bowl, the Giants Super Bowl,
especially that Bear.
Rush, and that, I mean, where guys didn't have where am I? I mean, that was, and see, they had to move Tooney out to the tackle position because their three in the middle was good. You know, your guards, you had Tooney, you had Smith, and what is his name? Humphreys at the center. That was good. Their tackles was the weak part. So they moved Tooney out to tackle, bring in the free agent to play guard, and he had to play opposite Jalen Carter. And then they had it where they flip-flopped him, and he had Jordan Davis. And Jordan Davis, they showed that one time, just actually lifted him off the ground and threw him somewhere and just went in there. I mean, it's just no.
Yeah, that was when you really watched the line play.
Yeah,
that was just unadulterated, pure domination.
And they're going to draft some more. Watch, I guarantee you, Philly's going to do it again.
Oh yeah, they always
because he know he's going to probably lose somebody.
Right, he'll know. He'll dig. He'll go.
Yep.
Find one of the linemen coming out. They'll trade up or make a trade, get a lineman, big lineman, to take a place of somebody they're going to lose. I think it was that Montez Sweat is supposedly going to be a free agent.
Yeah, be a free agent.
I believe he is. So bottom line is you got to figure that he'll go somewhere. Let me look it up here real quick. Yeah, Josh Sweat is Josh Sweat, not Montez. My bad.
And that's the one
Josh
they're thinking
Sweat
about getting, Montez.
Right. They're thinking about getting Montez Sweat.
Yep.
Josh Sweat is the free agent.
Right.
7 years. DeMarcus Lawrence is also a free agent for the Cowboys, but he's 11 years, 32 years old. What do you do there? Chase Young is a free agent. DJ Jones is a free agent from Denver, and BJ Hill. Then we got to get, here's the other thing. We're talking a lot about the free agent situation. Cincinnati, you've got the three, you've got Hendrickson, the DN. Mm-hmm. Then you have Chase, the wide receiver, and Higgins, the three players that are going to, free agents. Burrow said he's more than willing to restructure his contract to keep them or keep, I don't know how many they can keep. Yeah. So Cincinnati's always been considered one of the cheap franchises as far as spending money.
Right.
They don't like to spend it. But when you look at Cincinnati and you kind of figured, what are they going to do? Because they're going to have to keep at least, I think they have to keep 2 out of the 3 minimum.
Yeah.
Either they got to keep Chase.
Yeah, they're going to keep Chase. I think that's
Chase.
Definite.
I think they've got to keep Hendrickson on the D line. I don't know if they could keep Higgins, though, too.
No, unless Burrow does something with that
Burrow does something with his
like
contract.
Mahomes did and Brady has done in the past. Change what he got there so he can keep his guys there. And that would be a great move they can.
If you keep
Higgins with Chase and the young guy, I can't pronounce his name, but he plays a slot now for them. I mean, they have
$46 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Cincinnati does.
So now that's where you get your defense together and also your offensive line.
So their cap space is pretty good. They've got cap. The Steelers have $53 million. The Bears, like we said, talked about earlier. Niners have $44 million. Giants have $43 million. Titans $44 million. So these teams that need, especially the Giants, they had to figure something out, because I personally think that if they roll out another 3 or 4 win team, Dable and Shane will be they'll be doing something else.
Well, doing what we doing or podcasts or
the podcast.
Something they won't be doing that. Well, even though Dave will probably might be back in coaching, but he won't be a head
coordinator.
Right.
You're on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing?
Hey, Irish Spike. What's happening?
Doing well. Hey, since we just finished up the longest college football season ever just a couple weeks ago, and by the way, I looked this up. The championship game next year is January 19th, and then the following year, the championship game is on January 25th.
Wow.
Yeah. So, on Monday nights both times. So, I guess the couple of questions here about college football. I see that both Ohio State and Notre Dame are starting spring practice on March 17th, and they're both having their spring games on April 12th, a Saturday. So that means you're going to practice 15 times within a 26-day time period. And, you just came off the longest college season ever. I'm not sure that – is it a theory like, hey, let's just get this done and get over with, especially the younger guys. The older veterans are going to get time off and, not much contact, et cetera, the guys that went through the long, grueling season. But college coaches look at the young guys, Dave, have to show them something in practice so they can kind of see when they hit fall camp on July 30th where they're at, too. You know what I mean? With the younger guys who haven't played very much. Right. So they have to have more contact and tackling to kind of find out what they have and what they don't have.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. I mean, the time limit is unbelievable. We talk about tired legs.
That's what I'm
think about it, make you think they're going to have them, but they're young. We got to remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing they got going in their favor. They had that energy to just keep recycling, keep going. And we could just think about that at our age now, and I'm exhausted. So it's a big difference. These guys, they're able to do it, but it's becoming longer and longer. And, the root of the whole thing, we know what the root of the whole thing, money.
And they're not.
And they started winter workouts about 2 weeks. Obviously they probably got about a week to 10 days off, and then you got to, hit the weight room in the winter workouts with the athletic trainers and all that stuff. So because it's part of the gig, we all understand that. So it's just amazing. No, I guess I'm coming to the fact that Notre Dame hired a new general manager yesterday, Mike Martin from the Detroit Lions. He's been in the Detroit Lions front office the last 4 or 5 years, and he'll be the new general manager. And they're looking for what's called he'll settle the roster and the transfer portal and other stuff, and then they want to hire a recruiting coordinator to hire the high school recruits, kids coming out of high school into college. So you have two different people doing one job. That, like almost like when the NFL structure and organization set up.
Yeah, I mean it is now. And that's funny, just hearing you say GMs. We never said that back in the day for college football. And get to the GM, but that's what it's about now. It's really professional. Well, it's run like a professional sport.
It's definitely going that way.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you could see, like you said.
Yeah. And you almost have to.
You do.
With the transfer portal, because that's just like having free agency at a higher degree.
And then NIL.
Yep, NIL.
Involved, you got to manage NIL. And, they were saying that Ohio State spent, I believe it was $20 million in NIL, but that wasn't the highest.
Right.
There was other teams that had spent more than Ohio State. LSU was one of them. Brian Kelly and LSU spent more money on NIL.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, some of these coaches are giving back the money in their contract at NIL to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
That's what Kelly basically did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that for donation.
Yeah,
for the NIL program.
They dance around. Yeah, they move their contract money to NIL money and said, "I don't need it. Put it back in NIL pool, and we'll get the recruits
right
and do what we need to do to get or transfer portal transfers with NIL money."
Right. Yep.
Let me ask you guys this question because we went back and we didn't talk that much in the last couple of weeks here and there. I see Matt Rule, Nebraska's supposed to have their spring game in the middle of April, and I think he's strongly alluded he's going to cancel the spring game because he said he lost players last year. I find it hard to believe that people can watch one game and find, hey, there's 3 or 4 players in Nebraska we really like. If there's players on Nebraska's roster that schools really like right now, they know about those kids right now, don't they?
Well, I would think they know something.
I mean,
they're just going to see the spring game and learn that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't understand it either, to be honest with you. I know I read that he was I don't know if he's going to he talked about canceling it now, but that's a moneymaker because they get,
Correct.
people.
Huge moneymaker for Nebraska.
Yeah. So
70,000 people there.
Right. And they charge. So
right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he might want to, but I'm sure the school's not for that because as we always know, that's what always drives everything is money. That's why you'll never see college. They're not putting, they're not playing less games in college.
Right.
They're playing more games. And they're going to, and the playoff picture is going to change and go to 14 teams, not this year, but next year.
Correct.
So again, why are they doing it?
Yeah.
It's because.
And they did say that too, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to change to 14.
It's going to go. That's why word is, they were talking, Gary Danielson was on Mad Dog Russo's show, and Mad Dog asked him about, are they really going to tweak 2025's playoff? And he said, I tend to think they won't because
me too.
They're going to change it anyway. So why change it for a year when they're going to make it 14 teams, maybe tweak the 14 team playoff and let this one go as is. And even though there was a lot of people upset because they didn't like the way they seeded the teams and all that in Ohio, Oregon got Ohio State, wasn't fair to them. They should have got a Boise State or somebody of lesser, ilk. But bottom line is he thought that he doesn't think they're going to bother to change it because it's going to change anyway for 1 year. Now, maybe they will adjust the seating, but knowing what I know, I tend to think they won't. I just think it's going to be better just to leave it alone. Play next year with the 12
2026, they'll change it.
Yeah, and then in 2026, sit down and really look at it. Because I think they're going to get to 16 teams, though, quicker than we think. Just like the NFL's getting to 18 games.
Yeah. Yep.
But getting back to what you were saying, college, it's just they're going to play more games. And you're right, Irish Mike, that's going to move out the college is going to probably end up end of January now. If you're saying the year after next, it's January 25th, is because they've added 2 more teams to it.
Yeah, because is that the reason?
I don't know. That's what I was asking you.
That's an entire week almost.
Yeah, that's a week longer. So
I don't know if you did you see anything that showed? Well, you probably didn't see anything that showed that.
But that's good.
But it makes it think that it is for it to be an extra week. What was the purpose?
Why are they pushing it out a whole week? I mean, it's going to be like you said, that next 2 years, it'll be January 25th. It's going to be at the end of January.
The 2026 season will be January 25th, 2027. They'll play the national championship game.
Yeah, that makes
I didn't see why. I mean, maybe that I don't know. That's a great question. That means some of the bowl games will be later now in regards to the semifinals will be around January 13th, 14th, right around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they're going to be running into the NFL playoff.
It's got to be it's got to be something going on.
Because they want to try to
related or what, but my buddy drew my attention. He goes, "You realize in 2 years this year was on the 20th, and 2 years will be on the 25th." And, you're pushing February now,
right?
Yeah.
No, you're not far from it.
No, you're almost there. Almost there.
Yeah. And then
you're almost there. You're almost there. Well, this week. Notre Dame did a thing this year on Peacock Network because they play their games on NBC. They do like the Hard Knocks on HBO. They've been doing for 25 years in teams, and inside look. And they actually did it all the way through the playoffs. And they dropped their last one on Thursday night. And I watched it yesterday because I was off school. And, leading up to the Orange Bowl, when Notre Dame played Penn State, the day before the game, there was a press conference with James Franklin from Penn State and Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. And, a couple of my buddies told me, they alluded to the fact again in a podcast yesterday that they wanted to know one story that we didn't write about that you could talk about now. And it's like how mad Marcus Freeman was after that press conference with James Franklin. Franklin was talking about his hairline and asked him how old he was. Almost like demeaning because Freeman's 38 years old and, he's a young guy with a lot of success early on in his career. And then he went on to talk about It's no knock to Notre Dame or Coach Freeman, but every school in the country should be in a conference.
Oh,
What does Marcus Freeman have to do? I mean, like, you guys sitting right next to you, and you're talking. Why do we care what James Franklin thinks? Here's my point, gentlemen. Eventually, all these teams are going to go independent, okay? And the next school to go independent besides Notre Dame is going to be University of Texas, okay? Because they have their own Longhorn. They have their own Longhorn network. They've got it started about 4 or 5 years ago, and they're making buku bucks off that, okay? And they're looking around saying, Ohio State and Notre Dame both made $20 million for making the championship game, more than anybody in the playoffs. They both made $20 million. Notre Dame got to keep all $20 million. Ohio State had to share it with 17 other Big Ten schools. Right. So they made $1.1 million.
Right.
When is Ohio State going to start to look around and say, we don't want to share our money with anybody?
Well, the only problem
coming.
Maybe. The only problem they have is the cash cow known as the Big Ten Network is what's funding. They get all that money from the Big Ten Network. So if they break away and start their own, they're not going to get the money from the Big Ten Network because they're no longer going to be in the Big Ten.
But they have enough long fan base, Pat Lucia, around the country that they'll be just fine.
Well, they're still going to have to figure out where they're going to get the $60 million they're losing. I know they got a big fan base, but you've got that hole now. Unless they could somehow form their own network and recover the money from there, but what's basically holding them into and keeping all those teams in the Big Ten, and why UCLA and USC, Oregon and Washington went over to the Big Ten is because of that, because the Big Ten Network and the cash cow that they saw how much, because they weren't getting anything. Their Pac-12, whatever they had, their TV deal wasn't any good. That's what killed the Pac-12 is the TV network or lack thereof.
But
and
many of these basketball coaches, Lucia, complaining in the Pac in the Big Ten, UCLA, about the travel. How many times they're going to come east to play basketball in the wintertime?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to complain like they're going to UCLA's coach is whining about going to Rutgers. And, I see their point.
Yeah. But that's what's going to happen.
If you want to get into the Big Ten and get your $60 million from the Big Ten Network, that's the sacrifice you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
And on the sad part, and people were bringing this up into your point, Irish Mike, it's not only the men's basketball, but it's all the other sports.
Yeah.
Like, women's volleyball, men's volleyball, all the other sports you don't think of, they have to do all the traveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all those student athletes are, making and vice versa. Rutgers has to go the other way.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking Dave Clark here. USC's 2025 football schedule next fall, okay? Mm-hmm. September 13th at Purdue. September 20th, home Michigan State. September 27th at Illinois. October 11th, Michigan at home. October 18th at Notre Dame. November 1st at Nebraska. So, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to fly back and forth 3 times in a matter of 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Midwest back to California.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of the coaches don't like it.
I hear people say what's going to drive Notre Dame in the conference, and people start, Lincoln Riley last year started alluding to the fact that maybe Notre Dame, USC should not be playing Notre Dame anymore year in and year out. I know it's been a rivalry since 1927, 100 years now. And the schools are 2,500 miles apart. But he brought that up. And I think he's talking about the travel. Hey, we're going to have to come to Columbus. We're going to have to come to Happy Valley. All these flights are going to catch up with us. We talked about in the NFL when West Coast teams have to come east several times.
Yeah. Yes, it's, and these are
but
professionals.
Lucia, they took the money.
Well, again, that's what you always go back to. They join the Big Ten because they saw the dollars, and the Pac-12 did such a poor job in their TV deal. The schools had no other option because UCLA, I think, was in really dire financial straits, and that this bailed them out, and this basically made it so the program wasn't losing money. And they weren't. I've read that UCLA was not doing well because they were getting no money from their TV deal, and the expenses of running the the school and all that. They weren't, evidently they were struggling. Now they saw the Big Ten, and that infusion of all the money in the Big Ten network solved a lot of their problems. And the result, though, is the teams are going to have to travel, but that goes the other way too. Ohio State and Rutgers and all those other schools have to go there too. So it's a two-way street. I mean, all the schools are going to have to travel. I mean, Ohio State's thinking, I wish they didn't let USC and UCLA in the conference because we have to go out there. We're making this the other flip.
I saw next week they're playing at SC on Wednesday and then at UCLA on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they'll be out on the West Coast for 4, 5, or 6 days.
Right.
Out there.
Now, do you think, here's my question. Do you think the existing teams in the Big Ten are happy that they let these schools in? I don't think they are, because it's not like, in fact, you're having another mouth to feed. You're better off when those schools were in their own conference because you didn't have to share the money with those schools and you don't have to travel out there to go play them. Right. You'd rather stay in the Big Ten with your team and your schools with that amount of teams and just play those schools, and because you're getting the same money.
Right.
So why, I mean, that's the other flip side to this. You think the Michigans, Ohio States, and the Marylands of the world are happy that UCLA and USC, Washington, and Oregon are in the conference? I don't think they are.
Right.
They liked it when they were not, because they were still getting the same amount of money from Big Ten Network.
Right.
And they didn't have to travel out there to play those schools.
Yep.
And they don't have to sit around and hear them whine about the schools playing them.
You know, it just got announced a week ago. Notre Dame finalized their contract to play their last game of the year, November 29th, against Stanford out of Stanford.
Right.
Okay. And they've been playing Stanford for a long time now, guys. And, you know, because they want to be on the West Coast, California, recruiting whole 9 years. My understanding from my buddies in South Bend was Notre Dame was trying to convince them to play the game in the Rose Bowl because UCLA and USC are out of town that weekend, or they're playing at the Coliseum, and then the Rose Bowl's vacant. But Stanford wouldn't go. Their thing is, we have a lot of Notre Dame games in LA, and we can fill that much. In Stanford, no one goes to Stanford games. We guys know that. Like, there's only 20,000 people there. I mean,
right,
and
at best,
58,000 people. So they thought, here's an economic opportunity to go to the prestigious Rose Bowl and make more money. And Stanford said, no, we don't want to move our home game.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Why would they?
I get it.
Why would Stanford want to go down there and play? Why? If that's a road game. It is a road game for them.
Yeah.
Play it. They know what they've got. They're not going to get the guys. I mean, they know they don't get the fans there. So, you know, it's not like if they play Notre Dame, Notre Dame's not going to have enough seats available. They'll have, what's available. They could buy it up, and then the Stanford fans will sell them their tickets if they need them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a home game for Notre Dame anyway. Out on the West Coast.
That shows you what a remarkable job, Harbaugh did there and David Shaw did there. I mean, that's been a difficult place to win at for so many years. And, for 7 or 8 year time period, they had it really rolling there in Stanford.
Yeah, they did.
No, they did. They had a good, starting, I think, with Harbaugh, and then Shaw did well. And then I think after a while, though, I think Shaw just couldn't keep up with, the recruiting, and he decided, he'd been there forever. He'd been there a long time. He decided it was time to move on.
Well, he did want the challenge of the NFL. That's where he's at now.
Sherman Gillums Jr., Paralyzed Veterans of America.
For more than 70 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has helped hundreds of thousands of veterans get all the benefits they've earned.
Al Kovac Jr., Paralyzed Veterans of America.
We provide one-on-one support tailored to your individual needs, including healthcare advocacy.
So we'll be back.
You there, Irish Mike?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hold on for a minute.
Okay.
We're going to come on break. Saturday Morning Sports Page back after timeout.
Your home for PAFL football is the iMedia One Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Saturday morning sports page coming right back at you. Second half of the show. Let's get back Irish Mike on. Hey, Irish Mike.
Yes, sir.
You're back.
Sir. Good morning.
Yeah, we had our technical glitch.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, we were talking about Ohio State earlier. They just hired Matt Patriarch to be the new defensive coordinator. Do you guys see, obviously Notre Dame had Al Golden for 3 years. Now he went back to the NFL, and Notre Dame hired last week Chris Ash. Remember, he was defense coordinator for Ohio State when they won the national championship with Urban Meyer against Alabama and Oregon 10 years ago for a couple of years. Then he went to Rutgers and had his issues there. And then he went to the NFL for 5 or 6 years. Do you guys think in major college football that's the trend now? Try to find guys that bounce back and forth based upon their experience in the NFL and how sophisticated the college games become now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Matt Patricia is going to be the new D coordinator at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I believe, did they promote Brian Hartline then to offensive coordinator, or is that still in the works?
That is correct, yes.
So that is correct. Hartline is now the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he'll be the offensive coordinator. I don't know if Dave's going to call the play still or not. I don't know how that's going to work out, but he's the offensive coordinator now.
So Matt Patricia, who was the Patriot defensive coordinator on those Super Bowl teams, failed as a head coach in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. I think you're going to see a lot of the schools, a lot of these guys like Wink Martindale went from New York Giants to Michigan as their D coordinator. And I believe he's probably now a free agent or a 1-year deal. I don't know if he's coming back to Michigan.
He's going back. So far he's gone back. I mean, obviously the NFL season still not a, the off season still wrapping up here in the next 2 weeks as far as moves to be made. I mean, with the Saints hiring their staff, and if you still have them on your staff by March 1st, you feel pretty safe normally.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. That's what's going to happen.
Notre Dame just lost their running backs coach, Dean McCullough. He went back to the NFL. He's going to be the running backs coach for the Las Vegas Raiders and their new head coach, Pete Carroll. But interestingly, his father, Sherman Smith, was a running backs coach for Pete Carroll up in Seattle for a long time. So there's the connection right there.
Right.
And I just seen him. He was back here visiting his mom.
Okay.
So he's got
awesome.
Yeah, because he's from here.
Yes, correct. He went to Camel. He went to Camel High School in 91.
Went to Camel, yep.
Yeah, they've got, at least as you said, Martindale is going to be looks like he will be coaching Michigan unless that changes otherwise, but they still have him listed as the D coordinator for Michigan. So we'll see if he stays or does he go back to the NFL.
And Dave, you bring up Dylan McCulloch. We talk about Dylan. Here's what people understand about major college football. Like Notre Dame, when they lost McCulloch, the fans were disappointed. They considered him to be one of the best, if not the best, running backs coach in America. He's a great recruiter. They have 4 running backs that I thought one would transfer after the Ohio State game, and they kept all 4. And tremendous backfield room. And and then they hired the running backs coach 4 or 5 days ago from Penn State. And those 2 young men stayed. They both could have went to the NFL, and they stayed at Penn State for their senior. They're talking about Penn State 2025, very similar to how we talked about Michigan in 2023 and Ohio State in 2024. Veterans could have gone pro, did not, and they came back for their senior year. That type of thing. And a lot of people have Penn State as their preseason number 1 because of the factor they're going to have a lot of seasoned veterans on their team next fall.
Right.
And but I guess my point is, gentlemen, that guy had been there 7 years as a running backs coach and a co-offensive coordinator. The expectations of keeping assistant coaches more than 3 or 4 years anymore is just unrealistic anymore. You know what I mean? Guys want to move up in their careers. Guys feel like if I've been someplace for too long, I get stale, and people think I'm happy where I'm at and I want to move up the ladder. I'm going to be a head coach someday. So sometimes moving along and in their eyes, bettering their resume is best for their careers and their families. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think that's what really happens. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's what goes on.
We expect a guy to stay 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years and say, I'm happy being a defensive backs coach, or I'm happy being an offensive line coach. Well, what if you want to be an offensive coordinator, right? Right. And you got passed over a couple of times, and you say, hey, I might have to make my next move. I have to make a move in my career and try to, go somewhere else and get another opportunity under another head coach, so to speak.
That's true. Because, if you got, usually guys do have a goal, and then sometimes they may not. It could be a running backs coach, but after they get into it, they can see that they got a lot more to offer, and they want to move up the ranks.
Correct.
Yep.
Because I know Dylan wants to be a head coach, and he was a finalist at Ohio University, didn't get it. He was a finalist at Ball State last month and didn't get it. So maybe he looks now, let me go back to the NFL and see, a year or two and see where that leads me to in my career.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Plus it's Vegas. Nice place to live year round.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, that's debatable. I don't know if you want to live in Vegas year round. It's 100 degrees in the summer for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 months.
It's brutal.
Yeah, we got some friends stay there. They love it.
Sometimes fans get upset. You look at Ohio State that, obviously Chip Kelly becomes the offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. But he was making $2.5 million in Columbus last year. Now he's making $6 million. So he over doubled his salary. You said this on your show for 25 years, Pat. If the NFL wants you from college, they're going to get you. Because ultimately, as much as fans want to scream, pay the guy, you can't do it you still have a university to run. I know people don't want to think that way.
And I know. That's the thing too is, and I think Kelly, what's his name? Chip Kelly did it as a favor to Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, he was obviously looking to get back in the NFL too. And then like you said, the money is just, they more than doubled his contract, even though $2 million is not too bad either.
No.
My buddy runs a website, Pat, called Buckeye Plan, and he texted me last week, regardless of whether we won the national championship or we went 9-3 missed the playoffs, Chip Kelly was never staying in Columbus more than a year. This was a 1-year temporary thing. This was not 3 or 4 years after.
No.
That's what he told me.
No, I never thought, I was surprised Kelly went there, but I think that was great they had him. But I thought that was just a year. I didn't think he was going to be there long term. And then there was just to help Day out. And I think Ohio State, they basically pushed all the chips to the center of the proverbial table.
Correct.
Because this was their year. They thought this was going to be, they got the big NIL deal, got the free agents, really, that's what they were, players to transfer there. And then, they hit home. And now next year will be a rebuilding year. They'll reload and they'll get the players. I don't know how good they're going to be. They'll have obviously the new coaching staff, but the question is going to be, and it always comes down to getting the players.
Yeah.
I mean, your coaching staff is good, but it's only good as the talent on the field.
Yeah, and you hit the ground running from day one. On Saturday, August 30th, you open up at home against the Texas Longhorns, who is going to be ranked in the top 3 to start the season. So you have a top 5 clash between 2 perennial powers on night one. Day one.
Yeah, then you're going to be playing against Arch Manning. So,
yep.
And the next night, the 31st, Dave, is your Miami Hurricanes hosting Notre Dame Fighting Irish on Sunday night, August 31st. So another top 10 clash on Sunday night, August 31st.
Yep.
Right out of the gate, game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Down in Miami. So, if you look at the Ohio State schedule, and let's suppose hypothetically Arch Manning gets them down in Columbus game 1. We all come to the fact that you can lose 2 games, you just can't lose 3 now. 3 is the magic number that people, we mentally eliminate you. Even though Paul Feinbaum's of the world try not to. But, you have the game November 29th against Michigan up in the Big House, last game of the year, which no matter what the record is, there'll still be pressure on Ryan Day, no matter what he accomplished this year. There's just people out there that still got to beat Michigan, right?
They've got just because he won a national title, that doesn't give him right. He still has to beat Michigan. He's not getting a free pass here.
No, exactly. They're happy. They're smiling, but at the same time, they're like, you still got to win that game November 29th next year. But the game you want to circle on your calendar, and we'll talk about when we get to fall time, is I think middle of October they play Illinois and Champaign. And, Brent Bielema has done a nice job there the last 3 or 4 years. And I think I read somewhere they got like 19 starters coming back on a team that won 10 games last year. So, like, that my buddy runs for Buckeye Planet. He's writing preseason editions, so he told me that he expects Illinois this year to be the Indiana of 2025.
Yeah, I could see
make the playoff.
Yeah,
Bielema can make a run here.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that.
He said if you're looking for a surprise team in 2025, he said Illinois Fighting Illini and Brent Bielema.
Yeah, I could see that. No, I mean,
he thinks Indiana will take a step back based upon they have to play Oregon out in Eugene, they have to play Penn State and Happy Valley. I mean, the schedule got a lot harder for them this year compared to last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty good, I mean, I know we're still a few months off, but it'll be here before we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, when you get to the bottom line, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Ohio State, because the fans are going to be they're going to be, their expectations of these fans isn't like, well, now we won a national title. We're going to in for a down year. No.
No,
they don't look that. They don't think that.
Mm-mm.
They think
they're thinking repeat. How do we repeat?
Right. How do we repeat? How do we get it? And they're going to be on day.
Yeah.
And now we got an extension. And then I believe the new buyout is $80 million. So it's Jimbo Fisher buyout.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think they are paying him about $12 million a year. That I believe makes him the second highest. Makes him, I believe it. Yeah, he makes $12.5 million a year. Makes him one. This is one of the highest, but I thought they said it was the second highest. And I believe the buyout now is over $80 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so he will make $12.5 million. Oh, he's behind Kirby Smart, who's making $13.2 million. So he's second highest. And then
let me ask you this, gentlemen, this question. I mean, you're talking about numbers there, Pat, and we always talk about guys wanting to bounce in. Do you think this change? We just talked about the game being 2 years, January 25th this year. The championship game was January 20th. Next year will be the 19th. Do you think, when we go back 15, 20 years and we knew who the national champion was by January 3rd, January 4th at the latest? You know what I mean? Even last year, Harbaugh won on the 8th of January. Do you think that hurts like a guy like Ryan Day, who maybe does have some NFL aspirations, but the fact is the NFL season ended on January 5th, and by January 15th or 16th, most teams, after they fired their coach, within a week to 10 days, had their next head coach lined up and ready to go. But basically, what I'm saying politely is I know the New Orleans Saints waited for the offense coordinator for the Eagles, and he was hired on Tuesday. But a lot of people don't want to wait anymore, do they?
Yeah.
Does that hurt college coaches to back up the season if they have aspiration to get the NFL as a head coach based upon the timeline of the longer season in college football now compared to 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I
mean, you agree with that?
So couldn't you see Ryan Day win a national championship and saying, "Now I want to go to the NFL because my family's taking a hell of a lot here"? Like, just ask his wife to tell some of those stories. Some of those stories are disturbing, Pat Lucia. They're disturbing.
Totally. Yeah, I mean,
they're disturbing.
Yeah.
If he terminates the contract, until if he terminates it, the buyout is $6 million. So if he decides he wants to go to the NFL, now he's not going to the NFL because
correct.
The jobs are full. But getting it, and then that would decrease $500,000 each year. So I guess if say like he goes to the NFL next year, it would be $5.5 million for him to terminate the contract, which isn't a lot of money in terms of buyout. I mean, anymore with these coaches, what they make. But I agree with you 100%. Ohio State fans are, to me, over the edge.
Yes.
But a lot of, unfortunately, look at the Philadelphia fans, the Eagle fans. You know, I mean, I guess somebody could put together a list of the worst fans or the most outrageous fans and list them. And I think Ohio State fans would be at the top of the list because they basically have no patience at all. And if he loses to Michigan again next year, they'll want to fire him. The fans will want him out. And that's what a friend of mine asked me. He said, what would happen next year if Day loses to Michigan? I go, there are going to be people who want to fire him. And if he doesn't get into the playoffs next year and loses to Michigan, he may want to get out. He may want to leave. Because the fans down there are just going to be going ballistic.
They're going to go brutal. They'll be brutal. He got two things, like you said, Michigan and making it all the way back.
Right. And now that's the problem with the Ohio State fan is the expectation is now through the roof.
Yeah.
Because now they think you should win the title next year and beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And if he does neither one, they'll want him fired.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I always told you the story about Earl Bruce. That story about 1987, they fired him the week of Michigan, Monday before Michigan. And then they ultimately let him coach, but they let him coach the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And he won.
He won, and then the fans wanted to keep him because he beat Michigan.
Right, yep.
They wanted him out before Michigan because he lost to Iowa, I believe, on the last play of the game, and the school was 5-4-1, and people were just livid. And he lost brutally close games that year. Then the president fires him, and Rick Bay, who was the AD, basically he had to fire him, and then he was Earl's guy, and then he resigned.
Yeah.
After he fired Earl, he goes, I'm out because he's my guy. So bottom line is Earl ends up going up to Michigan, beating Michigan at Michigan. Then he had a winning record against Bo Schembechler. And bottom line, though, is then everybody wanted to keep him, and they got a bowl bid to the Sun Bowl to play West Virginia, and then all the players wanted to go play the bowl game. Chris Spielman talks about this. He says that he's upset with the school because they denied him the right to play it to win a bowl game, which I agree with him 5,000%.
Yep.
But then the whole sentiment and everybody in Columbus wanted to keep Earl. They wanted him to rescind the termination and keep him because he really beat Michigan. And that's all that mattered to them.
Yep.
And the president says, no, we can't keep him. I fired him. And we're not going to the bowl game. And people were they were going nuts. But that's what people don't quite understand what that means to Ohio State fans, that Michigan game means.
Yeah.
That was Earl getting fired, but then the president letting him go up and coach. Someone said, well, why did they do that? And I goes, yeah, that was not a smart move. If you fired him, you should have never let him stay as coaching the team in Michigan.
Yeah, made no sense anyway.
But then that built the momentum up, and there you go.
You know, you talk about momentum in college football, Pat. Let's look at the last two national champions in Big Ten, Michigan and Ohio State, the last 2 years. 22 season, Michigan losing the playoffs disappointingly to TCU in the semifinal. then all those kids decide to come back, and Harbaugh's under pressure. Even though he's beaten Ohio State 2 years in a row, the fact is they fell short in the playoffs a couple times. People are disappointed. Then all those veterans come back on that 23 team, and they go undefeated and win the national championship. And then they have as many guys drafted last year as any school in the history of the NFL draft because they had a bunch of seniors and fifth-year seniors on that team that won the title.
Right.
Then fast forward to 2024, Ryan Day's under a lot of pressure, loses a couple regular season games, but he finds the path and gets hot right time and stays healthy. The two key words now is getting hot and staying healthy.
Right.
Those are the key words, hot and healthy.
Right.
And, so he wins the national championship. And like Joel Klatt said, you had 15 out of your 22 starters were seniors or fifth-year seniors. Those guys that could have left last January 2024, and entered the April 24 draft did not. And let's be honest, they were not going to be first-round draft picks. We all know that. If they were going to be first-round draft picks, they would have left. Let's be honest. They would have left. Any kid's going to be a first-rounder is going to leave. Notre Dame lost their cover corner, Benjamin Morris, in the middle of October to a shoulder injury. He didn't play a game since October 12th. He missed the rest of the year. He announced last week he's going to the NFL and he's going to skip his senior year. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He should go. Okay?
Right.
He did enough in college in 2.5 years to show I can play on Sundays, and he'll get drafted in the first round. But the point is, do we look at Penn State in the same light? James Franklin been on a lot of heat there, been there 11 years, can't beat Ohio State, can't beat Michigan, quote, can't win the big game. I mean, I don't know. He beat SMU in the playoffs, and he beat Boise State in the playoffs. In your eyes, I mean, are those big wins for Penn State if you're a Penn State fan? Or are those games you should win because you have more talent and better personnel? I mean, and Penn State convinced all these veteran players, minus Abdul Carter, who should go to the NFL because he's a top 3 pick,
right.
Not to come back next year. But all these other guys decide one more year. Is that the pattern now in college football to convince older guys to come back and play one more year, not go to the NFL and be 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft picks?
Well, you have the NIL, and that's kind of how you can maybe keep them. Now you can entice them with money.
Yeah.
And that's how you can keep them, and that's what Ohio State did, and that's what Penn State's doing.
Correct.
So now you have legitimate reason to keep them financially. And kids can actually make more money staying there than if they go to if they're a 4th or 5th round pick.
And then they can up their draft stock. They can move up a round or two.
So they can equal the money, or maybe make a little bit more money, or make comparable money in college on NIL. As you said, build up your stock and then come out and maybe go in the 2nd or 3rd round, or maybe a 1st round.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you'll see a lot of kids do. And that's maybe a positive for the NIL and even the transfer portal, because kids will stay in college longer and develop their game. Where in the NBA, they're doing the other end. They're coming out. I think all the college kids should stay 2 years to develop their game, but that's never going to happen.
Correct.
But it's good for NIL's helped colleges, at least the football players. Maybe now some of the college basketball players will do that too.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Right. I mean, I know what you're saying. So when I was talking about the Earl Bruce situation, the president at the time was Edward Jennings. He was the president of Ohio State under we always call it like the Earl Bruce fiasco is what happened. But getting back to your original thing, the NIL works both ways in that it helps kids stay and maybe develop their game better, which is what they need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's I think the problem with Franklin, those fans are tired of him too. And there's fans up there that are mad that he didn't get to the final, and they're mad that Notre Dame beat him. Now, there's some fans saying, well, any other coach getting to the semifinals, you think would have would say, okay, you feel comfortable next year. The fans up at Penn State, if he blows the game to Ohio State next year, those fans are like Ohio State fans. They're going to be screaming and yelling for him to get fired.
And that game's in Columbus, too. So,
right.
Yeah, this is probably it. He's on the hot seat for sure. It's already lit.
And here's the thing. The thing is,
he's got minus playing in Columbus. I don't know if he plays Michigan next year, but he's got a pretty favorable schedule next year, to be honest with you.
But he's to the point where Franklin's buyout is $56 million.
Ooh.
So if they're thinking about firing him, they're going to have to pony up a lot of money to get rid of him. And that's the problem with these state institutions is, you can't raid the state governments to pay for these buyouts. You got to go to your alumni and say, pony up. And but they owe him $56 million. And so if he loses to Ohio State, but he's in the same boat as Ryan Day in that they can't lose to Michigan and he can't lose to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And if he
quickly read this off to you, Penn State 2025, home against Nevada, home against Florida International, home against Villanova. That's his non-conference schedule right there. Lucia calls those scheduled wins, God. Dave Clark. He calls those scheduled wins.
Right.
First league games at home against Oregon. So the Oregon Ducks traveled Happy Valley cross country. Then at UCLA, Northwestern home. Then at Iowa. That could be tricky in Iowa City. Bye week. Then at Ohio State. Indiana home. At Michigan State versus Nebraska and at Rutgers. So if you look at the last 4 games, Michigan State's still rebuilding. Rutgers still rebuilding. So if he can get by, if he gets out of Ohio State with, if he only has 2 losses or less, they still got a great chance to make
they'll get the playoff
or final 12.
One thing here you were talking though, a team with 3 losses can get in. Look at Clemson. Correct. If you lose an out of conference game, and then you go on, and you might win, say like you're in your conference, you lose an out of conference. Then you might lose 2, but if you get into the championship game with 3, you could get into the championship with 3 losses. You win that game, you get in. That's what Clemson did.
Yeah.
But I think we weigh people's strength of schedule. As a Notre Dame fan this year, the last game they played was USC out in LA November 30th. And Notre Dame had 1 loss and they were on a 10-game winning streak. That Northern Illinois, the schedule didn't play out as much as we thought. It was strength of schedule. So everybody knew that was a must win for Notre Dame. But the 2-loss Notre Dame team was not getting in the playoffs. So
they weren't going to get in.
At Penn State's non-conference schedule, if they have 2 losses compared to other people are going to look back at that and say, who did you play? Ohio State played Texas. Miami played Notre Dame. Look, Florida State played Alabama. You understand where I'm going with this?
Right.
The non-conference schedules are saying, look who other schools played. You played Villanova, Nevada, and Florida International.
Right. You played nobody. And that's the problem. That's the whole problem with college football. Correct. Is that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They got to do something with the
I know their schedule.
It's called an unbalanced schedule.
Yep. And I know those scheduled way in advance, but you know what? You can still scrape them things.
Yeah, you can.
You can go back in and say, you know what? We have to pay you this or whatever. We're not going to do this.
The problem you have with college, you don't have a commissioner. Correct. These schools are all out in the wild, wild west doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
And there's nobody dictating to the schools like a commissioner. You can't do that.
Right.
So until you get any kind of a leadership, and that's the whole problem with college in itself, is you have the transfer portal's all out of control. NIL is all out of control. You don't have any, but you can't. The problem you have with college football is the schools don't want to directly pay the kids because it makes them employees, and they don't want to do that.
Correct.
Right.
No, no school wants to
do that. School wants to do that. So they want to use the NIL, and now they want to try to limit the NIL, and you can't.
No.
Legally, you're going to lose that every time. You can't limit what a kid can make off his name, image, and likeness. So that's where the quandary is with these schools is they want to limit something they can't limit. They've lost every court case, and they're going to continue to lose a court case. And as soon as they think they're going to limit NIL, they're going to get slam dunk and Nicole, you can't do that.
Right.
Legally. Then they want to go to Congress and they go, well, no, we're going to let Congress decide it. Yeah. Oh, good luck with that. Yeah, let the government figure it out.
Yeah.
They got enough problems as it is. Do you think they care about NIL? No.
No.
It's craziness.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for taking my call. You guys have a great weekend.
All right, Irish Mike.
Irish Mike.
That's the Saturday morning sports page. 4th quarter coming up. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, Western Reserve Radio.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway club fitting center, and an Odyssey fitting studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page coming back at you. 330-707-4202. Dave Clark. Yeah, we were talking. Irish Spike covered the college situation, called the buyouts. James Franklin's buyout is $56 million. I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere, Dave Clark. I don't think these schools want to pay the buyout. No, unless the donors come. I don't see it. I don't think Ryan Day's buyout is over, $80 million? I can't see
Penn State doing that. Unless it's all of a sudden they got Nick Saban saying, I'm going to come back, I'll coach Penn State. Then they may think about it for a legend like that. But,
right.
But for just, getting another coach.
No.
I can't.
And I don't think Nick Saban's coming back.
No.
I believe he's 72 years old.
Yep. I know he's right in that age bracket with Belichick, him, and Pete Carroll.
They're all the same age.
Right around the same age.
I did this one time, yeah. Nick Saban is 73. He will turn 74 in October of this year. So, and then Pete Carroll, talk about coach age. Carroll is 73. You're right. He turned 74 in September. So when he starts as head coach of Seattle, he will be 74 years old. Pete Carroll is.
Yeah.
He is just Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. They're like 6 weeks apart in age. Carroll was born September 15th of 51. Nick Saban was born October 31st of 51.
Yeah.
So they're basically almost literally, the same age.
Yeah.
6 weeks apart.
Yep.
So, I think Pete Carroll looks like he could, he doesn't look anywhere near his age and he's got all the energy.
Yeah, no, he does.
If I were to ask you, who do you think, let's look at what do you think the Oakland Raiders, the Vegas Raiders.
I still say it.
And we could
that's just
do a whole show on how the NFL has screwed up these teams, where they are, where they need to be, where they should be, where they're not, and how they've got the whole, but they're making money hands over fists, so they don't care. I mean, Roger Goodell doesn't care that the fact that the Raiders play away games at home, and the basically Rams and the Chargers especially, all their games are away games. The Chargers, and then the Rams play pretty much. They have a little bit better a home base than the Chargers, not much, but it's better.
Yeah,
and then to me, Vegas has really no home base because that's a road venue for them too. But if I were to ask you, what do you think the Raiders will do for quarterback? You got Carroll now.
Yeah, I think he wants to draft one of those guys, but I definitely believe knowing him, he would like to have a veteran too. He would, just like if I'm gonna tell you, but I don't think Seattle's going to allow it to happen. Geno Smith, I think, is a free agent, and if they could get him, he would take Geno Smith in a heartbeat because he's a guy that can orchestrate just being a good manager of the football, taking care of it, and then what else Pete Carroll wants to do? He wants to run the football. He wants to build up.
He wants to build up a defense. He wants to do the line right.
Yep, he likes to do the same thing, and he wants to run the football and control the line of scrimmage. So, if he can get those things, I think they'll be a lot better. I'm not saying they'll go straight to the playoffs, but I think they'll be a lot better if they can do that.
Looks like Geno Smith has one more year left on his deal. I thought he was a free agent, but he's not.
I thought I heard them say that before that he was, so I don't know. I don't know if it's an option year, but that's the only way that can be if it's an option year. But if it's a full year, then he shouldn't be a free
He's got a base salary of $14.8 million, and then he's got a how they prorate the signing bonus, $8 million. So the roster bonus is $6 million. I said restructure was $4.8 million. So at the end of the day, it looks like, it'll be interesting to see what they ultimately do with him. He's got a $10 million roster bonus. This is maybe it. If they keep him on March 16th, if they cut him, they save $10 million on the roster bonus. So I guess that's the deal is if they decide he's 35 years old, if they cut him, they save $10 million on they don't have to pay him the roster bonus.
Okay.
So the question's going to ultimately be, what are they basically going to do? The dead cap hit would be $13.5 million. And they would take a $44 million cap hit, but save $10 million on the roster bonus. So that's not all insane.
Yeah.
Dead cap is only $13.5 million. That'll be a great question. Do they get rid of Geno? They cut him. They don't want to pay him the roster bonus, or they keep him one more year and roll him out.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be a big time decision.
But then if he goes, they cut him loose, he's a free agent. Is that who, or does Russell Wilson end up? In
it's possible.
The Raiders, or now they're talking. This is, I thought, interesting. Aaron Rodgers, if you were betting, I saw where FanDuel had him going to the odds are going to the Steelers 1, Raiders 2.
Yeah. I've seen that.
And then there's that weird rumor they were saying that we talked a little bit, go back to it. Matthew Stafford was rumored to be going to the Giants, but they wanted the third overall pick. They would trade him to the Giants for the third overall pick, and I heard that's not going to happen.
No.
I think the Giants would give him a second. They would want to give him a third rounder, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
But then there's talk about potentially they would trade Stafford, and then McVay would go after Rodgers, and he would be a Ram. But I keep going back to, why would the Rams want to get rid of Stafford? Because look how, he almost got him to the NFC conference. You're not that far.
No, and he's a guy that can still play,
and he
can make all the throws. I don't know why, but, and I know he's frustrated too, because his best friend on the team. They already
Cooper
said,
Kupp.
Yeah, and they said they're getting rid of him, and he didn't really agree with that decision.
No, he's not
get rid of him.
happy.
You know, he figured. He said, I'm looking at our team where we got Kupp and we got Nakua and a good running game.
Right.
What why we want to break this apart right now? But that's look like what they have to do, and a lot of it has to do with finances. I know it is.
Well, none of his contract is guaranteed. Stafford's contract,
right?
None of the contract is
Kupp.
guaranteed. Oh yeah, well, Kupp, they're willing to pay part of the contract and trade him.
Right.
Yeah, they want to dump him in the worst way. I don't know why either.
Yeah, I don't know if they figured that he's just not. I don't know. He's still, when he came back, he was still making big time catches.
Yeah,
so
I don't see where his. I don't understand it because I don't see.
Yeah, I don't know where they fell out of favor with him at, but if that probably didn't sit well with Stafford, so he probably said a few things, and now it's about him leaving too. So it's going to be this. That's what I said. The NFL now, we just used to wait all these months until the summer, but it is 24/7, 365 days. It's football all the time.
It is.
So it's always something going on.
It's the NFL.
Always.
Will dominate sports.
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on all the time.
NFL football is clearly number one by far, over and above, no matter what. And NFL and college is 2, NFL's 1.
Yeah.
College is 2. Then you can argue
whatever after that.
The other,
even college is way behind.
Yeah, college. There's a gap.
Yeah, it's a big gap, but they are next.
They're next, but there's a gap there.
Yep.
And then I think then there's a real significant gap after that. I don't know. The NBA has problems in that. I heard Kevin Lockery yesterday on Mad Dog Russo, and he's a an NBA junkie. He says he loves he watches it, but he keeps saying the problem is with these guys, they don't play.
Yeah.
He goes, it's really just it's a 3-point shooting contest, and a lot of these guys just don't play. And he goes, he keeps going back to when he played back in the 60s and even in the early 70s. He said, everybody played. We play to win every game. He goes, these guys now don't play and they don't care if they win. He just said that it just doesn't seem there's a different mindset now. Is because it seems like they're just getting ready for the playoffs and the game itself is just he talked about what they should do. This is interesting. Is what they should do is they should not count the 3-point play until the fourth quarter. So they could you could shoot the ball, but the 3-pointers don't count until the fourth quarter. Yeah. Then you can start counting.
That'd be interesting.
Right. So he just was saying it might help the game, it be a better game. Because I remember Larry Bird even made the comment that when we played, we just shot the 3-pointer kind of like toward the end of the game to get into it, but we didn't really shoot the 3-pointer during the game. It wasn't
a part of their arsenal of offense.
Right. And that you looked at the way Magic played, worked the ball into Kareem,
so you don't see that.
Worthy,
down low, let me get it down there.
Right. No.
I mean, I look at it, I think about if Shaq was playing.
Oh my
Shaq
gosh.
was in his prime, you could not stop him at all. I watched a documentary the other day on him, and people used to say, he wasn't that good.
No, he wasn't.
No.
Stop it.
Nobody. You couldn't stop him at all.
You could not, no.
No, there's no answer, nothing. I mean, just forget it.
Yeah.
And can you imagine him playing? He'd probably go out and want to choke 3-point guys.
Oh, he would. Shaq
because
would.
they shooting all day and he's
that's
down.
It.
No way that's happening.
Shaq, that's what you're right. Shaq would probably want to choke one of them.
He'd probably want to choke somebody.
He would. Yeah,
and that's the thing I don't like about the game. Is so much. They're terrific shooters out there. I give it to them.
Right.
But man, did I love seeing guys going to the basket, post. I loved all that. It was intriguing. You don't see that because now the big man is told to get out here and hit the 3-point line and spread the offense.
And he's shooting the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Jokic is shooting the 3. Embiid is.
Yeah.
And those guys are away from the basket, and they're launching up threes too.
And it takes away from you because really, those two guys you just mentioned, Embiid and Jokic, are great post-up players. Yeah. You're not stopping them either.
No.
It's just that, the difference between them and a Shaq was that you wasn't stopping because he was just too powerful and too strong. It just wasn't because he dunked. He dunked because he done blew you out the water.
Look, that's what Will Perdue was on. This is years ago. I heard him say this. And he said the difference between Shaq and Olajuwon is you knew what Shaq was going to do and you couldn't stop him. Shaq was like, get the ball down low. That's it. You couldn't stop him.
Right.
Olajuwon, he said, was always giving you something different.
Mm-hmm.
And you play Olajuwon, he would do something different every game. And like, you think, well, how did he come up with that move? And he would just always make a basket or get by you. But Olajuwon, he just had that ability he had really developed a game where he would go either outside, inside, or make a move. But Shaq didn't do that. Shaq got it down low, and it was like the Mariano Rivera of basket. Nobody could stop him.
Right.
And you're right. When Shaq was in his prime, there was nobody in the league. And what I always thought of growing up, I saw Chamberlain play and Bill Russell play. I would always marvel, and Kareem, obviously, Kareem. But I always would love to know how Shaq and Wilt, I mean, it talk about two power guys going at it. Yeah. I think that would just be a matchup that I would just love to see.
Yeah.
Wilt in his prime and Shaq going at it would be an unbelievable matchup.
Yep.
Because I could just see Shaq wanting to take Wilt to the hole and Wilt would say no. And you would just see two guys clashing. Yeah, and even Russell. Only thing, Russell didn't have nearly the size. And I would think that Shaq would just, size-wise, just kind of move Russell out.
Right.
Wilt would be more of a problem because Wilt had more of a size issue. Yeah. But that would be interesting. And then obviously Kareem had that sky hook, and he would just, drive everybody crazy because nobody could stop that.
Right. Yep.
And
that's what I miss from the game.
That's what I do. I miss that part. I love, Kareem and the sky hook and the way Kareem played, and then Shaq.
Then small. I mean, we talk about Barkley and what he could do posting up, and he's small. But another guy that was really small and you couldn't stop him is Adrian Dantley. He might have been 6'4.5", maybe.
Maybe
he gets you on the box and it's over.
The other player I always thought was very underrated was Willis Reed.
Oh, yeah.
I think Willis Reed was one of the best centers because Willis Reed had developed an outside game when he had to play forward when the Knicks had Walt Bellamy.
Mm-hmm.
So Willis Reed was a center. The Knicks acquired Walt Bellamy. Reed had to go out and develop an outside game as a forward, and he did it. Then when he went back to center, not only did he have the game as a center, but he had the game as the forward. He was an absolute nightmare to guard, even for and Russell would say that. He said, Reed would beat me up physically, but then he would go out and he could shoot the ball from 15 feet. Yeah. I couldn't go both ways. And he used to drive those big guys like even Kareem and all those guys crazy because he had developed a pretty good game and he was only like 6'5.5", but he just had that big body and he knew how to move and where to go.
Yeah, all those guys did
and
that.
All those guys were skilled. They knew how to get...
Yeah, they wasn't big. I mean, tall.
They were tall. They were big, but
Wes Unseld
another guy.
Couldn't even stop that guy.
No.
A rebounding machine.
Right. And he was 6'6", maybe. Yeah. Probably 280.
Yep.
250 or something. And he was brutal. He was so strong.
Yep.
And he had such a game, and Elvin Hayes and him complemented one another. I mean, that's the part of the NBA, maybe because we're old and we're but I love that. I love the NBA, that game, and even Bird and Magic in the 80s.
Yeah, oh yeah. I take the Jordan 90s.
And even the Jordan 90s.
In the early 2000s. And then Shaq was there early too. After a while, later in the 2000s,
that's where
that game started to change.
Right.
And then you started getting the big shooters, and they started shooting. Well, once they seen Stephen Curry,
that's it.
The way the entire thing changed.
Well, and then then I think the other thing too is they brought in a lot of the European players, and then they started shooting the ball too.
Yeah, and that's what they were never brought in as physical guys.
They weren't.
Think about them.
No, Tony Kukoc, all those guys that came in, they weren't great shooters, but they weren't the physical. And the game started to evolve, and Steph Curry comes in, and now they just shoot through, and the metrics tell them that's the way to win games is through the 3-pointer. So that's what you see now. And they've had games where they have 93 pointers in a game. That's not outrageous. No. 45 per team. And they've had a couple games. I know they've gone over 100 3-point attempts.
Yeah, no. That's the part I don't like. And I tell you, they would shoot them. With lockers talking about they would only count for 2 points, but they wouldn't be as frequent because guys would look for better shots.
Right.
They'd be saying, why shoot way out there? It's only 2.
But
I'm going to get it in closer and get a better shot.
And that might help the game.
And it'll change it back to what it used to be.
At least get it back to closer to what it used to be.
So if you're down 14 going in the fourth quarter, now I can shoot my threes.
Right. And get
back into the game quickly. Right.
But that's what he said, and I agree. And he said now he watches every game, and I mean he looks at the box scores every game. Because he's old school. He likes to get the paper and the box scores. But he goes, I look at those box scores every game and see what they're doing. And I watch it I watch a lot of NBA. And he said that just the game has evolved now to really a 3-point, and it's tough to watch. And unfortunately, the TV ratings show that is the ratings are down. And again, I don't know what the solution is. I think they need to figure it out because I don't know how they could continue. I know where I think the TV, I haven't heard a final on it as far as what they're doing TV wise. I know the word was they were going to go NBC streaming on Peacock, all the games on Peacock. And that's how they were going to make a lot of the money is through that. But the ratings itself, the TV ratings are down again and down a lot, like down for over 40% because it's getting, and the concern is the product's not that good to watch.
I'll be honest with you. I know this product is not better than the NBA, but people enjoy watching the WNBA.
They do.
Because yes, they shoot threes,
but they don't.
But the fundamental of everything is like the old NBA. They go down low. They got centers. They go down low. Post up games. Yeah. It's like that.
It's actually almost the old NBA.
Yep.
The women are evolved to like the old NBA.
Yep. And they
where it was watchable.
Now.
Right.
So you can watch them. They so skilled. They're not fumbling.
No.
They are skilled. So I enjoy watching the game.
Right. You watch because it's more of the old NBA that we knew.
Yeah. Yeah. They're physical because
and
everything.
Physical. You still have the playing. They still work it in, and there's still like they're just not coming down and hoisting.
Yeah,
like the NBA is just these teams have just become infatuated.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be one of the first to say people. Some people don't want to admit it. I love watching the WNBA now, and I really got into it the last 2 years,
last couple of years.
Yeah,
because you've seen where the game is being played at the old. And like the old way of working the ball, then working for the good shot, physicality underneath, players setting picks, shooting the ball. I mean, I
see them strategize with the good passes and down it. Oh man, it's the old school.
It's the old school NBA that they've played. And that's why when I heard this the other day, I was thinking, that makes some sense. Don't count the 3-pointer until the fourth quarter. They can take it, but it won't count as a 3 until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So now maybe teams will at least revert back to the old NBA that we kind of knew and grew up with, is at least, and even, again, I don't mean to I go back to the 70s, but you go to the 80s and the 90s with Jordan and Bird, and like I said, in the mid-2000s, and toward late 2010, 11, it started to change. And I think that's what, has got now. It's just it's getting obscene crazy with the amount of threes these teams. And now, I mean, Lockery came to say that it's just, he goes, I just don't think these guys, and then they sit out and there's load management. The guys don't play. And then he goes, sometimes when they play, all they do is shoot up threes. They don't even want to play defense. They just want to shoot threes. And it's just like the game's got to, like, he's kind of inferring that the guys don't really want to play the game like we knew.
Right.
Because it's like too hard, maybe, or just too difficult to go and grind and bang the bodies down low and set a pick where you could just come down and just launch up a three.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's just a different game. And and that's why, I believe that the NBA's got an issue, and I don't know what their solution's going to be, but I think they need to come figure something out.
Yeah. Yep. It has.
Where do you think, Dave Clark, Aaron Rodgers will end up here? I know, does he end up a Raider? Could he be? I could see him playing for Carroll.
Yeah, me too. And the thing about it, they said you never know. They might get a 2-for-1, even though it'd be weird. Is the package would be Devontae Adams, and he come back. Would he go back to the Raiders? Well, he always was a guy that loved the Raiders. He left because he just didn't have the quarterback.
No, they didn't have a quarterback.
See what they're doing. He needed to play with somebody. Would he come back there if Aaron Rodgers was there? Maybe so. Maybe he would. And I could see him playing there, but I also could see Tomlin pulling it off, bringing him in Pittsburgh.
And then here's the other one. I'm wondering if they bring Aaron Rodgers, say, to Pittsburgh. Obviously, Russell Wilson's gone, but you got to figure Justin Fields is gone because he's a free agent,
right?
And I think there's going to be a team or teams, that are going to offer him like a deal where he'll get like a 3-year, $20 million per year deal, like those kind of deals where they've got flexibility and out, like a Baker Mayfield or some deal comparable to that, where it's very team friendly.
Yeah, I think he get it. I don't know if he can get as much.
I don't know if he's going to get quite like Baker, but
because Baker had enough in his
because Baker actually had a little bit a better resume than Fields,
definitely. And then he done what he done did. He got to the playoffs. I actually think if it wasn't a few bad calls, Cleveland beats Kansas City in Kansas City that playoff game. So I mean, they were there. And Baker got him that far and did some good things. I still think Justin's still learning the game, but I think he can get a decent contract for somebody to think, hey, we work with him.
Yeah,
I think he can be the guy.
There's always a coach.
It's always somebody,
him, right?
And he's still young enough to do it.
Yep.
But Justin Fields going to really have to. He's got to tucker down and really get ready this year, because I think this year, next year is big for him. If he doesn't flip that.
He might be the perennial backup.
Yeah, he'll be that journeyman guy.
He'll be the journeyman backup.
This is it. This is it for him. He's got to hit something that clicks for him, and in the right situation. And
got to get the right team, right situation. That'll be interesting, because it'll be interesting, like I said, where some of these quarterbacks go, and then you're going to be looking at, do you draft a guy or do you go after a Trey Lance, get him cheap and think maybe I could develop Trey Lance? And Trey Lance is a guy that I think instead of taking one of these guys out of the draft, I get Trey Lance relatively cheap and I can develop him.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's going to be a lot of that going on with those free agent quarterbacks.
Yeah, especially those guys.
Those guys you can get.
Fields, I think
Lance,
is further along than
Lance, but
but
I think there's going to be somebody,
some talent there in both of them.
Right. And people look at Trey Lance and think he has untapped talent.
Yep.
I think I could develop him, and Fields, they could see it further on the scale, but he doesn't need as much, but we can make him a good starter.
And Pete Carroll might be the guy that.
And does he go to the Raiders? Because Fields did win games with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, he won games.
He won games.
Unconventional.
He's just right.
But Pete Carroll's the guy that structures things.
But look, he did for Geno Smith.
Right. He'll structure to the guy's strengths. So
he kind of resurrected Geno Smith's career in Seattle.
No doubt about it.
Because Geno was a bust, and he went to Seattle, and look what happened.
His determination.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. Everybody stay safe. Do not drink. Do not drive. Stay sober. Drive sober. We'll be back next week. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia and Dave Clark. Western Reserve Radio.
Someone's got to set the tone out there, boys. Someone's got to set it.
The station that sets the tone for Youngstown Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio. WRDV, The Scourge.
Rollo still in for Gil alongside Kelly Bidlin. We'll be joined by Wes Reynolds to talk some golf and college basketball on the show. Plus, we'll hit the MLB futures market, including some division exactas that we're excited for, NFL early offseason awards markets, and some second half NBA win totals as they return from the break. Only here on A Numbers Game, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line with host Tim Murray on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning. I'm live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to be talking plenty of college hoops for you as we have a 1 versus 2 showdown. Heard this stat last night. The last time we had 2 intrastate teams play each other in a 1 versus 2 game, Tennessee and Memphis in February of 2008. The victor, the Tennessee Volunteers, 66-62. The head coach of the Vols, Bruce Pearl. And he, of course, is the head coach of the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. A showdown we get tonight. We just heard from Jim Root. He is on the over as one of his favorite plays in the Circa College Hoops Challenge. Another contestant, easy for me to say, Wes Reynolds will join the show. Coming up bottom of the hour, we'll get his 5 plays. We will revisit all of the best bets and some of the common plays, as well as my plays, at the end of the hour. So we'll jump into all of those. Just a reminder, you get all of the best bets for the Circa College Hoops Challenge if you are a VSiN Pro subscriber. So head on over to vsin.com/subscribe. You get an email courtesy of Bill 80 every, we'll call it early Saturday morning, because the selections are not due until 1 a.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. Pacific, for all 15 of the competitors. But it is just a day to sit back and enjoy college hoops. You know, we did this show all throughout the fall as the college football tailgate show. If you know me, I love college football and I love college basketball. And today is a day, if you've got the opportunity, maybe you're on the East Coast, maybe you're somewhere in the Midwest, it's cold, you don't have to go outside, there's snow on the ground, it's gray outside, turn on the TV and watch college hoops from noon until the wee hours of the morning. So let's get you a little injury update here. One of my favorite plays, it actually is my best bet for the competition, and we'll give you all 5 of those plays a little bit later on, is Texas against Kentucky. A lot has gone into this particular bet. For the competition, I laid 3. Personally, I actually took money line on this game on Friday, but regardless, for the competition, laid 3 with Texas. Let's talk about injuries here for Kentucky. They will be without Lamont Butler, they will be without Jackson Robinson, and they will be out without Kerr Kriisa. So they are without all 3 of their point guards, as Jeff Goodman pointed out earlier today on social media. So this is a Kentucky team that Lamont Butler, man, you have to feel for this young man. He was dealing with the shoulder injury. He comes back in the game against Tennessee. He re-aggravates that shoulder. He's going to be sidelined again today. And this is one of those spots for me that I look at Kentucky heading to Texas, where you've got a Texas team that is in a bit of a desperation mode in order to be solidifying that resume to make the NCAA tournament. Kentucky right now safely in the field, as we all know. By the way, just a reminder, coming up in about 90 minutes or so, there will be the unveiling of the top 16 seeds for the NCAA tournament, a la kind of what we saw in college football each and every week for the college football playoff rankings. So we'll get the first reveal of the top 16 teams. More than likely, we're going to see 3 teams from the SEC on the 1 line as of now in Alabama, Auburn, and Florida. Duke more than likely getting that 4th number 1 seed. Curious to see who gets the 3 seed or the 4 seed, Duke versus Florida, but pretty safe to say it will be Alabama, Auburn, in not in that order. It'll be Auburn, Alabama, 1-2 when those are revealed on CBS in less than 90 minutes. But back to Kentucky and Texas. Kentucky coming off of a big win over Tennessee. That was very impressive. They get the season sweep over the Vols, but as mentioned, a lot of injuries. And then you look at Texas. This is a team that is reeling a little bit. They've lost 4 of 5. They've lost 3 in a row. And this is a team, depending on where you look from a bracketology standpoint, is kind of on that bubble spot here. So I think from a desperation spot, situationally, I do like Texas here today, as well as the injuries building up there for Kentucky. And I think also that's why you've seen the market move a little bit here in the favor of the Texas Longhorns, as this has now moved out to 3. DraftKings even sits at 3.5 with Kentucky and Texas. This is a late night game down there in Austin at an 8 p.m. Eastern tip time. Alabama and Auburn, that's the game that so many of us are going to be locked in to watch today. Total sitting at 172. If you do like the over, like Jim Root, it looks like there's a 171.5 out there, but consensus number sits at 172. Point spread's at 1.5. So this is another bet for me in the contest. I did lay money line on Alabama when we were talking about this game on Thursday night, Matt Humans and myself here on Primetime. But I will say this. If you do have the opportunity to carve out 2+ hours to sit down and watch this showdown between Auburn and Alabama, number 1 Auburn at number 2 Alabama, I mean, look at the total. What does that tell you? We're going to have swings, man. We're going to have swings in this game. And I think this is a perfect game, in my opinion, to get in from a live standpoint. So if you have not bet this game from a pre-flop standpoint, and you are going to sit down and be able to watch the good chunk of this game, I mean, these two teams are elite offensively. So what concerns me as someone who has backed Alabama? Well, you're facing Auburn, first and foremost. John A. Broome is an absolute monster. So that is a concern. Secondly, Alabama on Wednesday night went to Austin. Tuesday night, I beg your pardon. They went 17 of 29 from 3. 17 of 29. They could not miss. This is a team that, when they are hot, boy, good luck. They can make a run. They can win the national championship. There's no doubt. But statistically speaking, this isn't an elite three-point shooting team. This is a team that shoots 34% from 3. If you look at Ken Pom and all their data over there, 142nd nationally in three-point shooting percentage. So coming off of a game where they went 17 to 29, facing the best team in the country in Auburn, could you have a little bit of regression from a shooting standpoint? Absolutely. So does that concern me? No doubt about it. But what I will say is, when you look at this Alabama team, Mark Sears, a guy that can just get absolutely scorching hot from long range, and a guy that you want on your side when you're playing in the biggest game. 36% from long range this year. Grant Nelson, more of an interior player, 6'11", elite from shot making inside the arc. And that's one thing to point out about Alabama, too. This is a team that Nate Oates, very analytically sound. They want majority of their possessions to end with a 3. Almost 50% of their possessions end with a 3-pointer. That said, when they're inside the arc, they're 60%. Can't wait to watch this game. I'm on Alabama as a 1.5-point favorite in this one. Elsewhere around the country today, because it is just an absolutely ridiculous card of college hoops today. Let's run through the ranked teams in action. You've got Texas A&M and Arkansas. This is an Arkansas team that I jokingly swore off on this show, saying, all right, I'm done. I'm done with Arkansas. No more. And then what do? They figure things out, right? A little bit. Arkansas now, I think they're working their way onto the bubble. They've got a massive one today against Texas A&M on the road. 8-point dog for Woo Pig Sooie here at Texas A&M. I was curious and contemplated looking at the dog here in the Razorbacks, but ultimately I decided to stay off of this one. This is an Arkansas team that, got off to an 0-5 straight up and ATS start in conference play, but since then has been playing some better hoops, right? They beat Georgia, they beat Kentucky in the return of Coach Cal, and then what I thought was an absolute massive letdown spot on the road at Texas later on after they had beaten Kentucky. They won as a dog at Texas. So this Arkansas team, even without Boogie Flan, their most talented player, has figured things out here. So good one coming up at noon Eastern there. Texas A&M, I'll say this about the Aggies. I think this is a team that is being massively overlooked from a national standpoint. A game that we'll talk about a little bit later on, one of the better plays of the game, Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Tennessee is laying 13 against Vandy. How about Wisconsin and Purdue? This game coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern, and Purdue coming off of a loss. If Purdue had not lost earlier this week against Indiana, I probably would be looking at Purdue here in this spot to maybe bounce back. Against Michigan. They beat Indiana a couple weeks ago. I apologize. So their loss to Michigan, this is a big-time showdown between two elite offenses. Wisconsin comes into this game with the 10th best offense in the country. Purdue coming in at number 8. And it's worth noting, when you look at Purdue, and they had the player of the year a year ago in Zach Edey. They make it all the way to the national championship, ultimately come up short against UConn. Say what you will about Matt Painter. Yes, they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. Yes, they lost to St. Peter's. This is a elite coach. And what he's done to just stockpile this roster year after year. Number 1 and number 2, depending on how you look at it, is going to be Broom and Flag. Probably it's Flag and Broom right now for player of the year. After that, you can make an argument that is Braden Smith. Braden Smith this year has been elite. And then not too far after that, Trey Kaufman-Renn, the big fella inside for Purdue. So I don't have a bet on this one. Was curious about the Wisconsin in this spot, looking at the dog, but ultimately no play for me. I'll get you my plays a little bit later on here in the hour. As always, our best bets are up at vsin.com/picks. We will talk more best bets coming up, courtesy of Wes Reynolds at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk some NBA here in just a moment. But, hey, just a reminder, if you're looking for some action right now, First Bet has got you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or your computer. Visit firstbet.com. That's the number 1 stbet.com. Use the promo code VSIN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. All-Star Weekend festivities started last night in the Bay Area for the NBA. We'll get some NBA thoughts with Rick Kamala. He'll join us next right here on the VSIN Weekend Morning Line.
With the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report, I'm Michael Barr. One of President Donald Trump's sons has backed a proposed sports event for athletes that openly use performance-enhancing drugs. Donald Trump Jr.'s venture fund, 1789 Capital, would co-lead an investment round for the sports group called the Enhanced Games. It would allow athletes to use almost any legally available performance-enhancing drugs in an effort to break world records. According to the Financial Times, one person close to the deal said the fundraising round would raise double-digit millions of dollars for the project. Golfer Rory McIlroy has claimed that Donald Trump does not like the LIV format and is on the side of the PGA Tour. According to The Telegraph, it comes despite Trump hosting the Saudi-funded events at his golf courses. Trump met with Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour's commissioner, several days ago, alongside Tiger Woods and Adam Scott. With the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report, I'm Michael Barr.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football. Or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the Angry Giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
Up for our free daily newsletter is a great way to catch up. Delivered straight to your inbox every morning, VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, and strategies for the day's betting menu. Sign up for free at VSiN.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That's VSIN.com/newsletter, VSiN.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Does Scotty Scheffler continue to roll? We'll talk to Wes Reynolds coming up bottom of the hour, as well as run through Wes's 5 plays for the Circa College Hoops Challenge that starts today. VSiN.com/picks for all of those plays and become a VSiN Pro subscriber. And Bill 80 will send you all 5 plays from the 15 college hoops handicappers. I'll run through the best bets as well as my 5 plays of the day coming up in 30 minutes. But it is All-Star Weekend, the unofficial midway point of the NBA season, even though we are certainly past the midway point. Always great to catch up with my good buddy Rick Kamala, who joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. You can follow him on Twitter at Rick Kamala Sports Ethos. Sports Ethos is the Twitter feed, as well as Ethos Fantasy NBA. He's doing content over there. Rick, always appreciate it, man. Let me jump right into this. Are you going to be handicapping the 3-point challenge tonight? It's a decent field, as it always is.
Yeah, I've got, Tim, good morning. I've got vibes on the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and the All-Star game. On the podcast that I do, I freaking hate the skills challenge. I just think it's so dumb. The players don't even know what they're doing out there. They're looking over at an NBA employee and be like, what? If you go this way, it's so stupid. It's Keystone Cops. They need to just destroy the event or replace it, I don't know, a game of horse or something. Anything basketball related that's not that stupid skills challenge. So, yeah, I got vibes on the 3-point contest and the others I talked about. Tim, I got Dame three-peating here, man. I'm not impressed with this field, okay? Jalen Brunson is my second favorite player in the league behind Wemby. I just don't see him winning the 3-point contest. Cade Cunningham is a breakout star. He's not a 3-point driller. Hero to me is streaky. Might be great one round and bad the next. Buddy Hield, same thing. Cam Johnson, who knows? I can't remember him ever being on this platform. And Norman Powell's been a 42% driller for LAC this year, but is he a 3-point contest guy? Question there. So it comes down to 2 guys for me. Dame at a plus 360, I think is awesome money. To me, that should be like a plus 220. And Darius Garland at a plus 600 as a hedge or a dark horse. That's the way I'd go there.
I love it. There we go. 3-point competition handicapping, courtesy of our guy, Rick Kamala. All right. How do you take a look at the All-Star competition? You've got Kenny's Young Stars versus Chuck's Global Stars, Shaq's OGs versus Candace's Rising Stars. So we got to see a little bit of this last night as the Rising Stars team gets into the All-Star game on Sunday. So what do you make of this? And is there, in your eyes, something to bet on here for Sunday night in the All-Star game?
Yep. There's 2 ways to go here, Tim. And we've got really good odds on one of these touts, and we've got extremely long odds on another one of them. So to me, Victor Wembanyama is going to win All-Star MVP. And I know a lot of people are loading up on Steph. It's in the Chase Center. It's his home. And a lot of times, historically, these star players playing at home win the All-Star game. That might happen. He's a plus 500. But, Tim, I have never, ever in my life imagined a player more suited for an all-star type of environment where it's lob after lob after lob after lob after lob than Victor Wembanyama, okay? Literally, he should score every point for his team, okay? Just stand through, just lob the ball to him. And, I mean,
because it's an all-star game. Like, they're not going to run regular offense and rotating, right, and chasing hard out to shoot. They're not going to do that. I mean, hopefully the level of competitiveness is increased this year, but they're not going to be out there even playing regular season defense, all right? So, to me, Wemby's going to shred. I like Chuck's Global All-Stars to win it, and I think Wemby's going to be All-Star MVP at a plus 900. Here's the dark horse. Stephon Castle took over the Rising Stars last night. He and the Rising Stars team that he's on is now going to battle, and they have a chance to win the All-Star tournament, right? What if Stephon Castle and his team does that? Then he's the MVP, right? And he's at a plus 10,000. And is it that far-fetched to think that the Rising Stars, who to me have a better chance of playing hard on Sunday than the NBA guys, that they would go in there and win? In a format like Tim, we've never had this before. So it's uncharted territory here. So it's all theory, right? But what we know is that NBA players completely trick off Sunday night. They do not want to be there. They do not want to even work up a sweat, okay? So maybe these Rising Stars guys do, and maybe they win it, and then Castle wins MVP, and you're at a plus 10,000. So I really like that, too.
All right, there we go. Stephon Castle right now. I'm not even looking. Where is he even on the board right now? But the Rising Star
at the very bottom of the board.
Yeah, very bottom of the board. They're 11-1 to win it. Victor Wembanyama at DraftKings 8-1 to win it. We're talking to Rick Kamala, joining us courtesy of our Progressive guest line. Rick, yesterday we saw the second installment of the straw poll, courtesy of ESPN.com. Tim Bontemps always does a great job with that, talking to 100 voters and seeing where they're at right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, pretty overwhelmingly, is the MVP at this point in time. Nikola Jokic coming in at number 2. Any takeaways for you from that straw poll from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, I think SGA is the play here. There is, because the narrative really matters, Tim. Your opinion matters and my opinion matters, but it doesn't matter as much as those 100 people that Tim Bontemps polled, because they have, they're punching the ballot, right? They are making this decision. So that absolutely is critical intel. That's why you bring it up to me every year, and it's very, very valid conversation, and it's monetizable, I believe. But look, SGA to me is, I can't say clear cut. I mean, Jokic is at a triple double. He's got the best PER in league history. Okay, like he's probably having his best year. But you know what? And it's not, hey, you won 3 out of 4. I'm tired of voting for you. It's none of that. Okay, SGA has taken his game to another level this year. Statistically, not athletically, he is at a Michael Jordan level. 32 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. That was Jordan's formula. That was his stat line, right? So SGA is at a Jordan stat line level, right? His efficiency is up. And here's the key part about OKC versus Denver and Jokic versus SGA. There's an 8.5 game separation, Tim. And as I view it, and I believe a lot of the voters view it, MVP is a merging of statistics and win-loss record, right? Like, I think Wemby should be in the top 10 for MVP voting because the stats are so gargantuan and they'd be like 1-40 without him, right? But not at the top. But the guys at the top are the winners, right? When you think about Cat in New York, he's third on my list. Jokic is second. SGA is first. So I think it's still really good money on SGA. And the fact that it's not just us, Tim, but there's a swell among the voters that SGA is overwhelmingly going to be the guy. This is his year, man.
Yeah, right now out to minus $5. You see these straw polls come out and it moves the market. So Tim Bontemps right now about 2/3 of the votes of the folks he talked to on SGA of Oklahoma City. Let's stick with Oklahoma City as we're talking to Rick Kamala. Sports Ethos is where you can get all of his content. Follow him on social media at Rick Kamala Sports. OKC is the favorite to win the Western Conference, but we know a lot of these Western Conference teams made significant moves at the deadline, whether it be, Jimmy Butler going to Golden State or Luka Doncic, of course, going to Los Angeles. Right now, when you look at the Western Conference, Oklahoma City is around plus 105, plus 110 to win the West. Where are you on this West? Can you see someone else emerging out of there? Or do you think OKC at a short price money is a good look there?
I think you look at this as an investment. I mean, it's a 1-to-1. You're not getting a lot of value or bang for the buck here, but I just think there's a clear separation between OKC and the rest of the West. I give Denver a puncher's chance. I don't give the Lakers a puncher's chance because they're ill-constructed since the Mark Williams trade dissolved. Because, Jackson Hayes, stop it. Come on. That's not going to work. You're not going to the West Finals with Jackson Hayes as your starting center. It's not going to happen. So, look, Minnesota's intriguing, right? Okay, because that roster, when they're humming, it's really, really good. And they went to the West Finals last year. Dallas is done, clearly, with the Davis thing, Gafford, they're done. You can completely write them off. So I'm and Houston and Memphis are very interesting to me, right? Memphis has been to the playoffs a couple of times, but are they going to be healthy? Is John? A lot of questions there, but they lurk. But the team that's really intriguing for me is Houston, Tim, because they're going to get Jabari Smith back. They're going to get Fred VanVleet back, and I believe they're going to get back to sort of that level they were 2 weeks ago. They kind of ran out of gas a little bit going into the All-Star break. I think they're going to be rejuvenated and be really good in the second half, but they're so young and they haven't been to the playoffs together. So I just think OKC's got this on lock.
Rick, you're the man. Always appreciate it. And I know I'll be calling on you over the next couple of weeks.
And I will be here for you, Tim. Appreciate you, man.
There he is, Rick Hamla, Sports Ethos at Rick Hamla Sports is where you can find him. You know where you can find us? The VSiN Watch app, Google Play, Apple App Store. Take the VSiN app with you wherever you go. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today. You stay connected with the action wherever you go on the VSiN Watch app. Phone, tablet, you can stream it to your smart TV. You get 24/7 live access to our audio and video streams, replays of your favorite shows, all our podcasts as well. Watch VSiN anywhere. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Wes Reynolds talking golf and college hoop next.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My check engine light's on?
That could hurt your gas mileage. The AutoZone free fix finder service can help find the fix for free.
Get in the zone. This whole report for free?
That's right. Printed and on your phone for free.
Get in the zone. But what if the fix is too
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving. without going overboard. So you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman. You just need feedthepig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Download the VSiN Watch app to stay plugged into the latest sports betting insights with VSiN's expert analysis, streaming live and on demand. Whether you're at home or on the go, the VSiN Watch app gives you access to every show, every highlight, and every deep dive into the action. Looking for something specific? Use the search feature to find coverage on your favorite teams, matchups, and sport. Exclusively for VSiN Pro subscribers, download the VSiN Watch app today on the App Store or Google Play and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning. I'm live from the Circa Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. I'm your host, Tim Murray. You can always tweet me at @1TimMurray. And if you are a VSiN Pro subscriber, well, you've already got the email. And you've already got access to all of the selections for what we've been talking about the majority of the morning, a loaded day of college basketball. Now that football in the rear view, Eagles wrapping up. Thank you, Eagles. With a victory on Sunday, we are full steam ahead. College basketball selection Sunday, a month away. And let's head back to our progressive guest line, bring in a colleague of mine as well as a competitor of mine in the Circa College Hoops Challenge. It is Wes Reynolds. Maybe we'll have a time to sneak in a golf thought or two regarding the Genesis as round 3 about to get underway. Scotty Scheffler currently 1 off the pace there at 7 under par. But Wes, let's jump right into it and let's go into a common play. It is the number 1 play of the contest. So that always makes you and me a little bit worried, but I just discussed it. The injuries for Kentucky, the situational spot for the Texas Longhorns, you and I and 3 others on the Longhorns laying 3. What intrigued you about Texas today?
Yeah, another game in the SEC as I'm looking at the potential bracket, the top 16, by the way, going to be revealed later today. 3 SEC teams as number 1 seed. So it feels like, everything is reversed on its axis. This isn't football season where the SEC is dominating. It's now basketball season. But yeah, I think Texas back against the wall, absolutely against the wall. If you look at their resume, it is very, very thin in terms of quad 1 wins, especially in the non-conference. They didn't get anything really in the non-conference. And I know it's tough to back this team because Texas has been a bit of a disappointment here. And you think that Kentucky has the edge in terms of scheme, but Texas really switches everything defensively. They're still very good defensively. Surprisingly, the offense just has not gotten there for the Longhorns this year. But I wonder with Kentucky, with the injuries, with Robinson, with Lamont Butler, they did just get the little payback against Tennessee on Tuesday night. It's a high tax at -3. I actually personally bet it on the money line yesterday, but used 3 in the contest here. But Longhorns, this is kind of a gotta-have-it spot for Rodney Terry and his guys.
Yeah, I echo everything you just said because I personally played it on the money line, but for the contest, I put it in Texas. This was the spot that I really targeted. By the way, depending on which bracketologist you subscribe to, I'm looking at Shelby Mast right now at Bracket Wag, and he has Texas as one of the last 4 in. So to your point, they need this one, certainly here today. Wes Reynolds joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line, one of the 15 competitors in the Circa College Hoops Challenge, which starts today. All the selections over at vsin.com. Let's go to the game of the day, maybe the game of the year. 1 versus 2, first time since 2011 back here in our backyard when Gonzaga actually smoked UCLA by 20. We've got Auburn at Alabama. I laid the 1.5 for the contest with the home team, and you are going with a total, and you're going to go head-to-head against our guest from the first hour, Jim Root. What intrigues you with the under in Alabama and Auburn?
Yeah, going head-to-head, which I don't always like to do with Jim, especially on totals, but I think that this is going to be, okay, loosey-goosey, happy action, fun time early. And if it's close late, I do think that this slows down a little bit because right now this is 1 versus 2 in the polls. This is 1 versus 2, I think, in terms of the top seeds in the NCAA tournament. So this went over down on the Plain last year. I think they ended up scoring 180, and then the game was in the low to mid 70s in Tuscaloosa last year. I think the slower the tempo is, clearly the better for War Eagle, because I think that they like to function a little bit more in the half court, but it just don't give up everything in the rim necessarily, and Auburn, I think, has been a little bit shaky in that regard, and probably that was because of the Broom injury, with the ankle injury he hurt at South Carolina a few weeks ago. So that's what Alabama likes to do. They play that modern basketball. They go 3 in rim rate. Basically, they're not really shooting as many threes because they've got a dunker spot with Big Cliff, the Rutgers transfer, down low. But I think that this is going to start out probably very fast-paced and exciting, and then maybe cools off a little bit at the end where it's a 1 or 2 possession game, and then you start saying, okay, we got to win this one because the winner is going to be number 1 in the country. So then the stakes get a lot bigger in the final few minutes of the game. So I am on the under, but that means I'm looking at about probably a 100-98 final score.
Yeah, betting the under in an Auburn-Alabama game is definitely going to make you grow some hair on your chest. Wes Reynolds joining us here, courtesy of our Progressive guest line. And another spot, you and I, the only 2 brave souls who are backing a winless team in the SEC, as you and I both took South Carolina. Hey, worst case scenario, we got a CLV trophy coming our way because we got 16 in the contest. Right now, market at 14, even a 13.5. So what was your thought process behind grabbing Lamont Paris's squad here, South Carolina, catching a big old number in Gainesville?
Yeah, numbers gone our way, and you're right. South Carolina 0-11, despite the fact that they have a potential lottery pick in Colin Murray Boyles, if you look at all the NBA draft mocks coming up for the summer. But this team has competed. Look, they haven't been blown out in every single game, 0-11. They've had a few, but they've had a lot of tough ones. Lost by 4 to Ole Miss at home, lost by 4 to A&M, lost by 5 at home in overtime to Mississippi State, lost by 1 to these Gators back on January 22nd in Columbia, lost by 3 at Vanderbilt, lost by 3 to Auburn. So this team has competed, and it's like somebody has to be dead last in the SEC this year because it's so good top to bottom, and it just so happens to be the Gamecocks, who, look, last year had a terrific year, making the NCAA tournament, 26-8. Paris was the SEC coach of the year, but they kind of they won all the close games last year, and sometimes that reverses, and it's absolutely reversed against South Carolina where they're losing all the close games. I wonder about Florida. Florida, by the way, we mentioned Auburn and Alabama. Florida would be the 3rd number 1 seed right now out of the SEC. I think they'd be the number 4 overall seed if the brackets were put out today. 21-3, 8-3 in the SEC, quad 1 wins out the wazoo here, but they come off 2 road wins. They beat Auburn last Saturday when Auburn was number 1, and then they go to the hump and beat Mississippi State. So it's like you're getting them priced at the top of the market. Now you get South Carolina and then also Oklahoma on Tuesday, 2 teams you should easily be able to handle down there in Gainesville. But I just thought the price was a little bit high here, and maybe you don't get Florida's best effort where they're clearly the better team, but just can't get too far away on a big number here.
All right, let's get to your best bet of the Circa College Hoops Challenge, another game where you've got the best of the number here. Once again, these numbers are posted at 6 p.m. Pacific, so we aren't trying to, skirt the system. We're just playing our plays, and if the market moves in our direction, yippee. But your best bet, you're going to the Horizon League, and you've got a showdown of 2 of the best teams in that conference. You've got IPFW, the Mastodons, on the road at Robert Morris, one of the newcomers to that conference. And you're going to take the road Mastodons here plus the points. For the contest is 3.5. Right now, current market sits at 2.5. What intrigues you about IPFW at Bobby Moe today?
Yeah, Bobby Moe has actually won 9 of their last 10. They're now 11-5. They took apart Cleveland State actually on the road. Cleveland State, by the way, number 1 in the Horizon League. Then you got that 3-way mishmash tied for second. Robert Morris, Youngstown State, and of course IPFW at 11-5. And Look, I just look at IPFW. They're the best offense in the Horizon League. John Kaufman and his guys like to get up and down the floor. They're number one in tempo. They're number one in effective field goal percentage. They're number one in turnover rate, number two in 3-point percentage. And, I just wonder if Robert Morris, who's kind of been winning on defense, they're second behind Cleveland State in pretty much all the different metrics. So I went ahead with IPFW here. Robert Morris just beat the best team in the league on the road, so they're kind of priced really high. Fort Wayne blown out last time out against Youngstown State, but they did beat Robert Morris way earlier in the season, back on December 8th, 82-77, and got up by about double digits in the second half. So experienced guards, senior laden lineup for IPFW. I thought 3.5 was a little bit high, so I'm going to bet the team off the kind of the bad loss against the team off the great win.
Bobby Moe, 20-6 ATS, second best cover team in the country. The best cover team in the country is UC San Diego. And if you know anything about Wes Reynolds, he's going to go against the grain, baby. So give us 30 seconds on why you're going to take UC Davis plus the points against the best cover team in college basketball, UC San Diego.
Well, I will say it didn't work going against the Tritons on Thursday night with Bakersfield as they were absolutely outclassed. But UCSD, you're right, 2 wins in a row. They finally beat Irvine, who has been the king daddy of this conference, has won 4 of the last 6 in the Big West. So that was big for them. So you thought, okay, it's a letdown coming. Didn't come against Bakersfield. Bakersfield, one of the worst teams in the conference. But UCD with Jim Less, 15-10 overall. They've been competitive. They've won 3 in a row, 9-5. UCSD's home court, not really the best home court. None of them are really that good in the Big West. So I thought 16.5 was a little rich here. So give me the UCD Aggies over this juggernaut UCSD.
There he is, Wes Reynolds. Always love his insight, Wes. Appreciate it. Best of luck today. We'll give you the best bets from the Circa College Hoops Challenge, as well as my 5 plays on the other side of the break here on VSiN.
When it comes to protecting my family's future, I want a life insurance company that's at the top of their game. That's why I got same-day coverage through Ethos. There was no paperwork, no waiting around, and no medical exam. I just answered a few health questions online, and Ethos set me up with a $3 million policy for about $2 a day. Go to tryethos.com and get it done today. That's
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets, and they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No.
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
How to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
The most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken. And when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Career in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, and AI with My Computer Career in just months. Already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Keep it rolling here on a lovely Saturday morning. I'm live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. You can always follow me on Twitter, on X, at @1Tim Murray. Follow the network at VSiN Live. Late last night, early this morning, we tweeted out a link to all of our best bets over at VSiN Live on social media. We also put out our clips of all the shows out there. As you can see behind me, that board, whole lot of college basketball up on that board, and we're going to run through my best bets for the Circa College Hoops Challenge coming up here in just a matter of moments, as well as look at all of the best bets. So 15 competitors in the Circa College Hoops Challenge. Today is the first day. 5 selections for the next 4 Saturdays, and then the NCAA tournament rolls around, and we're going to ramp it up with 6 selections in each of the first round. So that Wednesday heading into the NCAA tournament is going to be one that you're not going to want to miss on VSiN Prime Time. The creator of this competition, Matt Humans, he's going to join us in less than 30 minutes. We'll get his 5 plays for the day. We heard from Jim Root. We just heard from Wes Reynolds. We'll continue to run through the best bets for this competition. Worth noting, I have not given you the plays for last year's champion, David Deneen, as well as 2 years ago's champion, Will Hill. We'll get you those as well. But just a reminder, our best bets, as always, brought to you by our friends over at G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. And my best bet for the VSiN College Hoops Challenge is going to be Texas -3 against Kentucky. The G-Bank Visa Signature Card is your best bet, delivering 1% cashback rewards on eligible gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all other eligible transactions. For more information, head on over to VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions do apply. We just talked about this briefly with Wes Reynolds. It is the consensus most selected pick here for today. And that makes you a little bit nervous that 5 of the 15 like this spot. But I like to, think about it this way. We kind of live in this small little bubble that is college basketball. That is just betting, right? So the consensus mindset ultimately thinking there. So I am on Texas, and we mentioned this. So let's reiterate the injury situation there for the Kentucky Wildcats, because Kentucky is dealing with Lamont Butler being sidelined due to injury. Also, Jackson Robinson, Kirk Carissa. So Kentucky dealing with a ton of injuries. And then the desperation factor for the Texas Longhorns. They need this game, as we're about to find out who are the top 16 seeds in the NCAA field right now. Texas, they need this win. They need to enhance that resume. Talk to you about the bracket right now entering today. They're on the bubble right now, depending on where you look. If you go to Bracket Matrix, which is a great resource when it comes to looking at a collaboration of all the selections out there. Texas is either out or an 11 seed. So they need this win today. So that's why ultimately I went with Rodney Terry's squad as my best bet for today. As always, our best bets brought to you by G-Bank. I'm going to run through all of the best bets for all 15 of the competitors here in just a moment, but let's finish out my plays. Alabama -1.5 for the contest for me. This was a spot we talked about on Thursday night. Myself, Matt Humans, we were talking to Brian Edwards, even Ron Slay, SEC Network analyst. There was a little bit of groupthink, which makes you a bit concerned, but for me, I think home court is going to be a massive spot here for Alabama there at Coleman Coliseum. My concern would be, is there regression coming from a three-point shooting standpoint, right? This was a team that just shot 17 of 29 from three, dropping 103 on Texas's head on the road earlier this week. But Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, and company going to have to slow down Janai Broome. You've got the top two offenses in the nation in Alabama and Auburn from an offensive efficiency standpoint. But I do think Alabama, even though personally I would think betting this game from an in-game standpoint probably is the ideal way to go, knowing the swings in momentum likely in this game between Alabama and Auburn. First time ever we will have SEC teams playing each other as the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. But Alabama, for me, in the contest, a best bet. Then we got a little down and dirty, and we got a little ugly, and we got to pull out the clothespin for some of these games. So Wes Reynolds just talked about this one, so I'll briefly hit on it. South Carolina. So once again, we put these selections in last night, and I was looking for a fifth selection, and I went through a couple. I had St. Joe's on the road at George Mason on my card, left it off. I had Florida State hosting Clemson, ultimately left that one off. I landed on South Carolina, catching 16 for the contest. It's now down to 14. So, hey, hooray, we got closing line value. But we're getting to the point of the season where you wonder about these teams that have struggled so mightily. Hashtag quit watch. Mike Palm knows what I'm talking about. Is South Carolina on quit watch? I don't think so. Think about what we saw from Lamont Paris' squad earlier this week against Ole Miss. That was a spot where they should have won that game outright. They don't get there. They lose the game by a couple. And I think for Florida, as Wes kind of hit on, this is a team where they just beat Auburn over the weekend. They go to Stark Vegas in a tricky bounce back spot, and they win that game going away. Look, Todd Golden's squad has been phenomenal this year, and they're going to see that they are a 1 seed at this point in time, as they should be. They're 21-3, I beg your pardon. They're 8-3 in conference play. This isn't really a look-ahead situation. I think Florida's schedule, honestly, is shaping up kind of nice for the next couple of weeks for them. But I think South Carolina, you're going to get a little bit of desperation from them. Lamont Paris' squad, a team that went to the NCAA tournament a year ago. They're struggling this year, have yet to get a conference win. I think you get a good effort. I'm not saying they're going to pull the outright upset, but for the contest, I took the 16 with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Earlier this week, Villanova was a best bet for me against St. John's. And boy, was that a hell of a game there in Philadelphia. Vic Fangio was sitting courtside watching the Villanova Wildcats as they pulled off the 73-71 win over St. John's. St. John's was coming off back-to-back massive wins over Creighton, and then over Marquette, and then UConn. They got Creighton tomorrow in the Garden. But Villanova now, you've got to go on the road to the Dunk. And now I recognize first and foremost it's not called the Dunk anymore, but we will always call it the Dunk here on this program. Providence at home. It ain't what it used to be. They're riding a 4-game losing streak. This is a typical hold on to your butt special. I've tried to back Providence at a couple different times this year. Hasn't really played out all that well. Most notably a couple weeks ago when they hosted Creighton there up at the Dunk, and they got blown out by Creighton, fresh off of their win over Villanova. But I'm going to take the Friars here tonight, hoping that we get a decent atmosphere, hoping that we get an inspired effort from Kim English's squad. This has been a lost season for Providence. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament, but they got a chance to play spoiler here. Maybe Villanova, Kyle Neptune's squad coming off of that win over St. John's. They have a game against UConn coming up on Tuesday. Do you get a little bit of that sandwich spot here for the Wildcats going up to the Dunk? So I will take the 2.5. I'll hold my nose and take Providence. And then lastly, my last selection for the Circa College Hoops Challenge. This is a true on, hold on to your butt special. Colorado, what a disaster this season has been for Tad Boyle's squad. Remember, they went out to Maui, and in the losers bracket, they beat UConn. You're like, okay, maybe Colorado's going to be pretty decent this year. You would be wrong, because they have lost all 13 games in conference play. They're 9-15. They've gotten blown out almost every single game. So we are going to look at this line and say, why in God's name is Colorado now a favorite against UCF? UCF, the Golden Knights come into this game. They're also riding a 5-game losing streak. So we're going to hold on to our nose, and we're going to take the Buffs here, pick them in the contest. So those are my 5 plays for the Circa College Hoops Challenge. Texas -3 is my best bet. Alabama -1.5 against Auburn. Colorado pick 'em against UCF. Providence +2.5 versus Villanova. And then South Carolina at Florida, catching 16 for the competition. All right, let's run through our best bets here for the competition before we hit a break. Aaron Moore, San Diego State -1 versus Boise State. His best bet, Ron Boyles, agrees with me, giving them Friars +2.5. Chris Massero, -9 for NC State against Boston College. David Dineen, last year's champion, Tarleton State +5 against Seattle. Eli Hershkovich, he's going to lay the 3 as his best bet with Texas. So common play there with me. Hoops Peterson going Georgetown Butler under 141.5. JVT, his best bet, Oklahoma State +8.5. Ken Thompson, Georgia Tech -4 versus Cal. His best bet. Matt Humans going Alabama -1.5 versus Auburn. Paul Stone agrees with David Dineen. Tarleton State +5 against Seattle. Bobby Buckets Brubeck, he's going against me. He's taking UCF as his best bet. Jim Root, Stanford +19.5. Will Hill, Alabama -1.5. And Wes Reynolds, he's going to take the points with the Mastodons of IPFW. Just a reminder, you get all of your plays if you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, and we've got a great offer for you right now for as little as $9.99. Head on over to vsin.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber.
Hey, I got you something. What's this? Just a little Galentine's gift from JTV. Do you mean jewelry television? I love their jewelry. They have the
new customers get $25 off their first purchase of $75 or more. Visit jtv.com/romance.
Yeah, their artisan collections, gorgeous. Are you going to open your gift? Oh yeah. It's the pearl bracelet.
New customers receive.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, Let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F. Face drooping. A. Arm weakness. S. Speech difficulty. T. Time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
The Network.
Celebrate in style with the Legacy Club Sunset Package at Circa Resort and Casino. Cozy up by a fire pit, enjoy handcrafted cocktails, and raise a champagne toast as the sun sets over the Las Vegas Valley. With breathtaking panoramic views and an unforgettable atmosphere, it's the perfect setting for any occasion. Legacy Club Rooftop Cocktails. Reserve your spot today at circalasvegas.com.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line with host Tim Murray on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We keep it rolling along. Hour number 3 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. I'm your host, Tim Murray, live from the Circa Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, about to get college hoops underway for a loaded day here on not only the network, but across college basketball. Also a busy night on the ice as the United States will take on Canada. We'll get you a preview for the four nations face-off, USA and Canada, where the United States finds themselves as a slight favorite here at Circa. Nick Alberga will join us coming up in 30 minutes. The man who created the Circa College Hoops Challenge, year number 3 of the competition, Matt Humans, his weekly spot with us will come up in less than 15 minutes. We'll go through his 5 favorite plays and his 5 selections for the Circa College Hoops Challenge. We've been referencing it all day long, and got to get used to it because we're going to be doing that throughout the next couple of weeks here throughout the regular season of college basketball. So we will have those for you and all those selections over at vsin.com. So games about to get underway. DePaul Xavier, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Clemson, Florida State. Stop here. Man, this line is interesting. Now, we did see it climb a little bit in Clemson's favor. Think about the ACC for a moment. This is a conference that obviously is spearheaded by Duke, who will be a number 1 seed when the bracket early seeds are revealed here in just about a half hour on CBS. They're led by Cooper Flagg, who is the nation's number 1 player, favorite to win the Wooden Award. And then it's a massive drop-off. But, of course, Clemson last Saturday got the win at home against the Duke Blue Devils. And then on Monday, I give them a lot of credit, or I'm just angry with North Carolina because I thought that was the all-time spot to bet against Clemson. And what happened? Clemson went out and won by 20, 48 hours after beating Duke. Now they go on the road to Tallahassee, a suspiciously short line against Florida State, a Florida State team that, as we know, Leonard Hamilton coaching out his final games here for Florida State. So That game sitting there at 4.5. We've got Miami and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh laying 11 against the Miami Hurricanes, and then a couple games a little bit off the beaten path. St. Bonaventure at UMass. UMass laying 1. So a couple of games about to get underway. The most notable, number 8 Texas A&M laying 8 against Arkansas. We've got this College Hoops Challenge going on. You could say it's a little bit of a competition amongst us peers. Well, ProfitX is a peer-to-peer exchange available in 40-plus states. So instead of betting against sportsbooks, you are competing against other fans. Exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by about 10 to 20%. With football season over, the NBA is heating up. March Madness, as you know, right around the corner. Right now, ProfitX is offering 0% commission on all college basketball games through President's Day, which is Monday, February 17th, so you can experience the ProfitX advantage firsthand. So download ProfitX and use this code VSIN, VSIN, today. We'll get Matt Human's plays, which includes a best bet on Alabama and Auburn coming up here in about 10 minutes. But speaking of that game, we've been talking about it a lot. It is the highly anticipated number 1 versus number 2 showdown. First time in SEC history that we will have the top 2 teams in the country going head-to-head. Alabama right now a 1.5-point favorite with a total of 172. There's no doubt these two teams very well could win the national championship. Bruce Pearl led Auburn not too long ago to a visit in the Final Four, a little bit earlier than anticipated. And then Alabama a year ago, Nate Oates' squad made a trip to the Final Four as well. Let's hear from Jay Billis, ESPN college hoops analyst, on this matchup today at Coleman Coliseum. This was Jay Billis earlier this week on ESPN.
It's the best basketball conference top to bottom relative to the field that we have ever seen. They put up numbers that compare favorably to the mid-'80s in the ACC, but people forget the ACC had 8 teams back then. It's a lot easier to have 8 good teams than it is to have 16. And it has been remarkable. Now, but that doesn't mean that Houston or Duke can't win the national championship.
He's not lying. And when you just look at raw data, and that's what I love about college basketball, if you're someone who loves data, there's plenty of it. Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, Evan Maya, I mean, the list goes on and on of just unique numbers that are out there. And Ken Pom gets referenced a lot by me, a lot by anyone who follows college hoops. When you look at the rating for this conference this year, a conference that does include a team like South Carolina, who's 0-11, or a team like LSU that's 1-10. When you look at this conference, it's historic how good this conference is. We'll see how many teams they ultimately get in the field of 68. Right now, kind of looking at that 11-12 range. That's why I mentioned Texas as a best bet for me. They need a win today to boost that resume, and you get a win over Kentucky. That's enormous. But when you look at just the numbers that are out there for the SEC, this conference, as Jay Billis alluded to, is trending towards being one of the best conferences we've ever seen from top to bottom. So always love to hear from Charles Barkley, no matter what he's talking about. But obviously, his eyes will be fixated on his alma mater today, the number 1 team in the country in Auburn. And, when he was playing there in the 80s, Auburn was good, but not to the level of what they are right now. And he discussed that earlier this week, talking about this matchup and what he's excited to see. So let's hear from Sir Charles on Auburn and Alabama today. All right, we're having.
I never thought that. And a shout out to the 2 coaches, Bruce Pearl. That's my guy. I never thought, number one, I never thought Auburn would go to a Final Four. And him taking Auburn to the Final Four that's the greatest accomplishment in Auburn basketball history. And secondly, he's got people upset if we don't make a deep run. And that's all because of Bruce Pearl and his coaching staff. Man, they are amazing. And I got to give love to Coach Oates. Obviously last year Alabama made it to the Final Four. Coach Oates is a terrific coach.
It's interesting, and I've been contemplating, but ultimately the folks that I've talked to have talked me off of it for John Broome for National Player of the Year. And there's the belief that Cooper Flagg is kind of, I don't want to say separated himself totally from the pack, but if you think Auburn wins tonight and you think John A. Broome is the reason they win tonight, and he's been absolutely incredible this season. Do you look at that price for him to win the Wooden Award? Last check, it was in that like plus 450, 5-1 range. But I'll say this, I've reached out to a couple of people that I trust, and they say, I still wouldn't make that bet. And even one person that I talked to, a college hoops analyst, said it should be longer odds for Cooper Flagg. And, I was talking to Jim Root about this very topic just a couple days ago. And you look at Duke's schedule, while they don't have a game like Alabama for John A. Broome here today, you know what they have? To use a phrase that Brad Powers uses all the time, they have tomato cans. They're going to be a double-digit favorite in every ACC game. And then a week from today, sneaky good game, by the way, Madison Square Garden, Duke's going to play Illinois a week from today. That's actually going to be a hell of a game. Right now, Duke, it looks like projected to be kind of a 7-8 point spread. So an opportunity there for Cooper Flagg to continue to move forward there. Speaking of Auburn and John A. Broome, his head coach is Bruce Pearl, and I talked about it. He was involved in a number 1 versus number 2 matchup 14 years, let's see, math is not a strength. 17 years ago, there we go, in 2008 when Tennessee beat Memphis 66-62. In it again, 1 versus 2, and he's proud of the fact that it's Auburn versus Alabama. That is the first ever 1 versus 2 showdown in the history of the SEC.
When you walk into the locker room, you see an AU sign, but underneath it says "Make History." And that's something that has mattered to us. Even though we're talking about making history, the history we're talking about is moving forward. But this is the first 1-2 matchup in the SEC that's ever happened. And I just don't think if you were trying to predict whether it would be who would be in that matchup, Kentucky certainly would be a school that would be in it. It'd be Kentucky and who else? Could it be Tennessee? Could it be Florida? Could it be Arkansas back in the day with Nolan Richardson? Could be a Dale Brown LSU team. Who could it be? I don't think many people would have picked Auburn and Alabama.
I would agree with Coach Pearl. We'll talk more about this game coming up in 5 minutes. Matt Humans has this game on his College Hoops contest card. A couple other games of note coming up here in just a little bit. How about Wisconsin at Purdue? Purdue laying 5.5, 6 against the Badgers. This is a Purdue team that is coming off a loss to Michigan earlier this week, 75-73. We'll see how Purdue bounces back here at Mackey Arena. That'll be a charged up environment, no doubt. That game coming up on CBS. No play for me. I don't think actually, as I take a look at the contest plays that we have over at vsin.com, I don't know if anybody ultimately grabbed this Wisconsin game. Actually, Matt Humans will talk about this. He does have this game as one of his best bets. So we will discuss this game with Humans. I'll say this. The man knows Big Ten hoops and has a feel on Purdue when it comes to football and college basketball. So we'll get that with Humans here in just a little bit. Also on the card, Houston and Arizona. And we saw conflicting bets here on this one in the contest today, as Houston was a best bet for last year's champ, David Dineen, laying the short number. But Arizona was a best bet for both Chris Massaro and the 2023 champ, Will Hill. So some conflicting thoughts there as Houston is laying a short number on the road at Arizona. My initial thought for this one coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern was actually Arizona. However, the market disagrees. The market's in on Houston. Now, Houston, worth noting, is a team that certainly the market's going to love because some of those advanced numbers have always been high on the Cougars. Elite defensive team for Houston. Houston, only 1 loss on the year in Big 12 play. Remember, that was the bizarre game 2 weeks ago when they were at home against Texas Tech. Grant McCaslin and JT Toppin both got ejected early on in that game, and Texas Tech still found a way to win. But Cougars and Wildcats, 2 p.m. Eastern, and Houston out to a 2.5 point favorite.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-292-7788. 800-292-7788.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise.
Lena's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
In the rotation by May. So you got Sasaki, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, Glass now. For bleeps and giggles, you bring Kershaw back. You also acquired Yates and Scott. And you have a ridiculous lineup.
Follow the money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard. Weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hi, this is Grace Remington for VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The Aaron Rodgers experiment in New York is officially over. The odds for A-Rod's next team are posted at DraftKings, with the Steelers, the favorite, at plus 200. Pittsburgh heads into the offseason without a QB1 under contract. The next shortest odds are the Raiders at plus 300, who still need a starter, the 49ers at plus 350, who are deciding on a deal for Brock Purdy, and the Vikings at plus 400. For NFL analysis and futures picks, sign up for the free VSiN Daily newsletter at vsin.com/newsletter.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
It is a Saturday morning, now the afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. College hoops has started. How about the start for the Arkansas Woo-Pig Suey Razorbacks, out to an 8-0 lead over Texas A&M. And, you know, as soon as I vowed off the Arkansas Razorbacks, that's when they've kind of pulled it together. So I take credit for all of you Woo-Pig Suey fans out there. All right, Matt Grissom, me not betting them has led to the success that we've seen here in recent form. So we'll see how that game unfolds as Texas A&M find themselves in an early hole. Loaded day in the SEC, as pretty much every day in the SEC is going to be. And the man who created the Circa College Hoops Challenge, year number 3, joins us right now on the program. We discussed it at length on Thursday, and now we've got all the selections for the first day. It is Matt Youmans joining us, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Matt, before we jump into your 5 plays, as you are going to be part of the competition, what's been the feedback so far for you as year number 3? I know people were clamoring and waiting. They were begging you to bring this thing back for year 3.
Yeah, about halfway through this contest last year, I was cursing myself for creating this contest because, as you know, Tim, it's a love-hate relationship with college basketball betting or anything else in the betting world in general. But, man, you got to sweat out most of these games. It's a grind, and, it's fun, but at the same time, when you take brutal beats, it's agonizing. I had a lot of people asking about this contest. When's it going to come back? Of course, after the Super Bowl, sports world becomes a little bit depressing.
and you have to find a way to make it more interesting. I think everybody loves free picks, and when you have 15 handicappers who all are deep into college basketball, I think it's a valuable service for the VSiN subscribers, viewers, listeners on the network. When we can give out our best bets for college hoops on a card like this, Tim, with 150 games on it today.
It's so challenging to whittle it down. I was joking with David Deneen last night, last year's champ, and I was saying, I like betting weekday games more. It's less intimidating, but we've got 5 plays from all of us right now, vsin.com/picks. We've been going through those plays. Some games already underway. And Matt, I like having you on in the 9 o'clock Pacific, noon Eastern hour, because you and I, we try not to bet those early games because there's nothing worse than having an early loser, and your card today does not have a game in this early window. So that's a veteran move by you. But I want to jump into a game that we've discussed a little bit, and it is one of your best bets. It's Michigan State at Illinois. This was a game a couple weeks ago that was very clunky. Illinois was not happy with the referees. Yakachonis got fouled out, I believe, just 8 minutes of gameplay in that one. Illinois got the cover. Michigan State got the win. It was 80-78 in East Lansing. Now tonight in Champaign, Illinois laying 6 for the contest. Now some spots out to 6.5. Why ultimately did you back Tom Izzo's squad here in the contest?
The metrics are pretty good on Izzo's team. Michigan State on KenPom.com is the 23rd ranked team in the country, number 30 in offensive rating, number 15 in defense. I've felt like this Spartans team's a little bit fraudulent, and it comes back to three-point shooting a lot of times, Tim. We've talked about this on the show on weeknights. Michigan State shoots at about 29% from three, and that's not going to get it done. Obviously, it's defensive rebounding, toughness. Izzo doing what he usually does. But Michigan State, I also felt like had the first half of the Big Ten schedule was soft, and it was going to get a lot tougher in the second half, and we were going to find out what the Spartans are made of. Well, they've been exposed a little bit here. They've lost 3 of the past 4 games. The one win was against an Oregon team that's really struggling, and Michigan State was down 16 at halftime in that one in East Lansing. Here's why I ultimately decided to go with Michigan State, because Tom Izzo is off a bad loss at home to Mike Woodson in Indiana, and Illinois is off a win over UCLA. I got to tell you, Izzo, who's lost 3 of 4, he's going to be driving these guys hard all week. There's no sitting back and relaxing and being fat and happy in the Michigan State program right now. I think you're going to get Spartans' best effort off that bad loss against Indiana. And I think the betting market actually came in a little bit against me on this game. I saw last night we used +6 in the contest. I saw 7 out there at Circa last night. But I'll take Izzo off a loss and put my faith in him to keep it. If not win this game, at least take it down to the wire in Champaign.
Yeah, I was conflicted on this one because I like the revenge angle of Illinois, but I hear what you're saying regarding Tom Izzo coming off of that loss. If Michigan State had won earlier this week, taken care of business against Indiana, I probably would have looked at the Illini, but ultimately for me, I stayed off. You are taking the points with Michigan State. Certainly don't disagree with that. Matt Youmans, the creator of the College Hoops, Circa College Hoops Challenge. He is a part of it this year, joining us on our progressive guest line. All right, Matt, let's go to another game that I was alluding to in the previous segment, and you are taking the points with Wisconsin. I always trust your handicapping when it comes to the Big Ten, especially Purdue games. Mackey Arena is going to be live today, but Wisconsin is one of the best offenses in the country. So what do you make of the Badgers at Mackey catching 6 for the contest, 5.5 now in the market?
Yeah, I've had a really good read on Purdue games, actually, for about the past month. I think I've won every Purdue game I bet on or against them. And this one I'm not crazy about because Purdue is off a loss at Michigan in a game that the Boilermakers controlled for 35 minutes, and they let it get away in the last 5. And Purdue's probably got the best point guard in college basketball in Braden Smith. But, man, he's been playing 40 minutes a game. The guy is tireless. I think this is a good bounce back spot for Purdue off the loss at Michigan. However, Wisconsin's probably the best team nobody's talking about. And if you look at Ken Palm, Wisconsin's 11 They got an offensive rating of 10, a defensive rating of 35. Purdue is 8 in offense and 29 in defense. These teams are almost mirror images. The difference being Braden Smith's a better point guard, and Purdue being at home is in a good spot, off the loss at Michigan. I think Wisconsin takes this one to the wire too. I think it's going to be kind of like the Michigan State-Illinois game, where you're going to have the dog taking it to the wire. I'm not going to be surprised if the home favorite wins in each case, but I thought 6 was a little bit too much last night. I made the number 4 in this game, so I'm going to go ahead and take the points with the Badgers. I think Wisconsin's going to be in one of those top 4 seed lines, Tim, and nobody's been talking about the Badgers, but they're sneaky good.
There's no doubt top 10 in the country in offensive efficiency. We'll find out here in about 10 minutes where the first unveiling of the seeding where Wisconsin will be. And I think there's a good chance, as you mentioned, they could be a top 4 seed. We're talking to Matt Youmans going through his favorite plays for the Circa College Hoops Challenge. And we all have to point out one bet as our best bet. It's worth more in the standings. And for you, that is the showdown of Alabama and Auburn. We talked about it at length on Thursday night on VSiN Primetime, Matt. So let's circle back to it. Alabama laying 1.5 here against War Eagle. What do you like in Alabama and Auburn as your best bet?
I played Alabama minus 1.5, and I thought this is what the number was going to be, 1 or 1.5. So it's not about the number. It's about the matchup. And Alabama's off its hottest shooting night of the season. Obviously, I played Alabama minus 3 at Texas, and very happy the way that turned out. But Tim, the Tide shot 17 for 29 from 3, 18 and 20 from the free throw line. Played about as an efficient offensive game as you possibly can. I'm hoping no regression sets in here, but what I like is that Alabama's got a lot of size on the front line, athletes and size, and that's what you're going to need to control John Broome for Auburn. And by the way, Broome, since he came back from the injury, has not been nearly as effective on the offensive end of the floor. Look at the drop-off in Broome's numbers since he came back from the injury, specifically his field goal percentage. And I think if you look at this rivalry last year, the home team won both times. It's not going to surprise me if that's the same thing that happens here again. I think Alabama, Nate Oates is getting this Alabama team to begin to peak, especially on the offensive end of the floor. I have not seen that with Auburn, which just got blown out by Florida a week ago and struggled in the game at Vandy midweek. So give me the home team, the Tide, laying 1.5. And I would expect if Alabama doesn't have just a horrendous shooting night, which it hasn't had, Alabama is going to win this game.
Yeah.
And last note, Tim, as we wrap it up, we got a really strong field of 15 handicappers in the Circuit College Hoops Challenge. And I appreciate everybody jumping in the contest and those who pay attention and all the interest in the contest. David Deneen is our defending champ. We got Paul Stone out of Texas in the contest. What jumped out to me is apparently we need to be on Tarleton State today. Did you talk about that on your show yet?
Two best bets, yes, from the champ David Deneen and Paul Stone, the pride of Texas, who last year, I remember, he texted me and he said Tarleton State is a play for him. I forget when it was, and it was a no-sweat winner. So, yeah, to your point, Tarleton State apparently the spot here tonight. Matt, always appreciate it, man.
You bet. Thanks.
And the winner for the contest gets $1,000 to either Stadium Swim or Berries. And just a reminder, Derek Stevens is giving us a great deal right now, 15% off his 3 properties here in Vegas, Circa, the D, and Golden Gate. Book your stay, circalasvegas.com. Use the promo code.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.